No expo. All right, can we go to 5? So when something really amuses you, you react with A, a big appreciative laugh, B, a laugh but not a loud one, C, a quick chuckle, D, a sheepish smile. Six? Six? For those of you who go to parties or social gatherings, A, make a loud entrance so everybody notices you. Make a quiet entrance looking around for someone you know. C, make the quietest entrance trying to stay unnoticed. Seven? Seven? When you are working very hard, concentrating hard, and you are interrupted, what do? A, welcome the break. C, feel extremely irritated. C, vary between these two extremes. 8. Eight. Your favorite colors, which of them? A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Which of them? Nine? Can we go to 9? So just one more. Ready for 10? Can you see? Ready for 10? Is it too tiny? Or is the pillar blocking you? The pillar, oh. Ready for 10? Ready for 10? That's the last one. Are we done? Can we move on? Are we all good? Okay, now look at the options you chose. If number 1, your answer was A, that means you have 2 points. And so follow through till number 10 and then sum up your score. Please don't change whatever you had. It's not how high it is. Please, like I said, be honest and sincere with it. That's the only way you can get the right result. Those of us who are very good in mathematics can help the others. One more minute to go. Cameraman, don't obstruct them now. Eh? You should be part of this. Are we ready? So who is ready? Who else is ready? Okay. All right. So can we move on to the next slide? Can we move on to the next slide? Okay. Okay. Others see you as fresh, lively, charming, amusing, practical, and always interesting. Someone who is constantly in the center of attention, but sufficiently well balanced not to let it go into their heads. They also see you as kind, considerate, understanding, someone who will always cheer them up and help them out. I'll send you my bank details. Okay, 51 to 60. 51 to 60, okay? Others see you as an exciting, highly volatile, rather impulsive personality, a natural leader who is quick to make decisions, though not always the right ones. They see you. Now, they see you as bold, adventuresome, someone who will try anything once, someone who takes chances and enjoys an adventure. They enjoy being in your company because of the excitement you radiate. Okay, anybody over 60? I would be shocked if anybody is important. Now let me ask a few questions. Why would you pay more to drink a bottle of Fanta, not Mirinda? They are all, luckily we didn't have those staff sergeant marks on our faces. We should be, can we clap for our great-grandfathers? Because I'm just looking at my brother, I'm imagining what he would have been looking like with those staff sergeant on his cheeks. Okay, computer has failed. So let me tap the next slide. Just tap the arrow. Okay. Now, a brand is not simply an ad. I've heard people say, oh, that's a brand. No. That advert of Toyota you're seeing, that advert of Mercedes, that is simply an ad. That logo you're seeing of Champion Beer or Mercedes, that's not the brand. That jingle, that symbol, that spokesperson, that product, that slogan, that name, that's not the brand. So let's not confuse that with the brand we are talking about. Now, the brand here we are talking about, here, I've tried to break it down in 3 different ways. Whichever one you can catch, you catch. First, brand is a promise. When you go to Udoh hotels, what do you expect? You expect what? A clean environment, right? When they serve you food, you expect the food to be served in clean environment with clean. And I tell you what, if you find cockroach in a room here, you won't scream. If you find cockroach in a room in Udoh hotels, you are going to break bottles because you are paying a premium. Now here also is a collection of perceptions in the mind of the customer. Customer could be anybody. I know, for instance, Ephraim, I relate with Ephraim. Ephraim is a publisher. Ephraim, when I'm talking to Ephraim, Ephraim is my customer. So when I'm meeting Ephraim at any point in time, Ephraim is meeting me. Ephraim expects some level of treatment. Ephraim expects some level of decorum. Ephraim expects some level of behavior from me. When he doesn't get it, then something is wrong. And that's why you see, even in the corporate world, you could see that businesses, brands, major brands have taken time to define themselves. And so why I'm talking initially, because the métis, the headsman, all of them were drinking cowbell. Now, of course, because they had the numbers, but they didn't have the volumes in terms of sales. The mate said, so you won't buy. I remember in my days in banking, almost everybody in the banking hall drank cowbell. But you know what? You never found a cowbell sachet in the banking hall, in the banking office. You know what? Everybody had another container. Because it was cheap, when you buy, you pour it inside the container and throw away the sachet. So they were not making money. So now they are trying to change the brand from being that métis brand to something else, but they've lost it already. If you look at the car brands, like they talk about Mercedes, if you look at Kia, Hyundai, those cars were made for middle to lower class. I'm not sure today, maybe the economy, the Ruga economy is forcing MDs of banks to begin to drive it. But hey, before the Ruga economy came, you found out that you wouldn't find the MD of any major corporation driving any of those cars because, hey, it didn't connote prestige. It was the brand of every leader of the company drives. I'm not sure any governor anywhere drives any of those cars. Now, that is what we talk about prestige. Now, the Mercedes has carved a niche market and what are they doing? In business, you talk about the 80-20 rule, where you make 80% of your money from 20% of your customers. And so that's what Mercedes has practiced. That's what most people don't understand. Most people think that, okay, look, the more people I have coming in here, or the more business I have. Forgetting that, let me talk about banking, where I'm familiar with. You know why banks and bankers brought about online, was who confused branding and brands. I've used a simple diagram here, so you have clarity. That look, branding here is simply, when used as a verb, is creating a brand. For you to have a brand, you must create a brand, and that's the process of branding. That's where the adverts, the logo, and all those slogans come into play. And so simply you have the need, and on the other side, the identity and what you articulate, and that gives you the brand in the process of creating that brand. And then the brand itself, which is the marketing tool. For you must create your brand. If you want to become a politician today, you must create a brand. You must be marketable. For you to pursue a career in any other sphere of life, you must have a brand that is marketable. You can't achieve any. I think Eva just got banned. But hey, we're paying more to drink Eva water rather than drink Courage's pure water. Courage's and Son pure water. It may have been cleaner. At least it's cleaner because it's not banned. And so you can align bottom line and then, of course, have competitive advantage. Next slide. Now, simply, this is to illustrate more. This is Nestle, that's pure water. You pay more for this. This is simply, you are paying for this label, nothing more. And so when Courage goes for a job interview, presents himself, first they look at Courage, for instance, and say, how did he dress? Does he dress well? How does he speak? Okay, what is his track record? What is the perception about him? What are the kind of stories that go with him? What are the kind of baggages that come with him? That determines even before you speak. I'm sure you've heard His Excellency the Governor talk about, let me use, because the benefit of the Permanent Secretary, let me pause and introduce the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Information, who's graciously joined us here. Now, I'm sure you've heard His Excellency the Governor at several times say that, look, not everybody that is shortlisted to be a Permanent Secretary gets appointed. That's where your brand comes in. Because at the level of a Permanent Secretary, you're not just going to be an also-ran. You're going to be a captain of a ship. And so from your dressing, from your comportment, from the way you speak, everything comes into play. And that's where your brand becomes a factor. And that's why the government today insists that anybody who must become a Permanent Secretary must go through that process. Because in appointment, you are going to become a leader of a team. So, next slide, please. So how does this relate to you? Next slide, please. Now, to stand out today in the world, our most important job is to become the head marketer of your own brand. Nobody's going to sell your brand. Nobody. From the way you dress, from the way you speak, from the way you carry yourself, from my father used to say, show me your friend and I'll tell you who you are. From the associations you keep, it defines who you are. And so from today, if you want to become that person, please go back. Sorry. You must begin to become the head marketer of yourself. And that means you must do it consciously. No brand succeeded by not being conscious. You can't become a brand by not doing something consciously and sincerely. Just bring it here. If they take the light again, they will plug the UPS. Next slide, please. Now, these are all. So what makes these people stand out? From Michael Jackson. You are blocking us, sir. From Michael Jackson to Nelson Mandela to Bob Marley to Michael Jordan, Lucky Dube, Tiger Woods, our governor, Wole Soyinka, Donald Duke, Messi, Ronaldo, Alibaba, Fela. What made them stand out? Take Alibaba, for instance. Comedians were looked at as comedians in the real words of comedians. Nobody thought that at some point you pay up to $1 million to have a comedian come and crack jokes. But today we pay more than that, real. But when Alibaba started, people thought he was crazy. But he stuck to his guns. People were governors when this man was governor. Some ended up in jail. He's still celebrated. Now these two gentlemen have redefined football. They've totally redefined football. You know why I admire the two of them together? This one is naturally talented. This one just has fun playing football. This one said from young age, I want to be the best. So what did he do? He worked long and hard for it. And has he become the best? He has built a brand. Which means that there's nothing stopping you and I. I keep talking about the reason why I decided to bring my friends to volunteer to come to be part of this is to inspire you to know that, look, the successful person out there is every other person than you. Myself and my friend, there were times we couldn't afford to pay our house rent. We couldn't. There was a time I didn't have a house that was squatting with him. There was a time he didn't have, he was squatting with me. There was a time all we had was one moi moi. We used ruler to divide it equally. So that's all we could eat for a day. So the successful people you see on the street are never always successful. And so the challenges you are going through today are only there to prepare you. You don't buy experience from the market. So if you want to, your personal brand allows you to differentiate yourself by consistently articulating and leveraging your unique value proposition. Every one of us here have something unique. It's like a game of football. In a football team, there is a man whose job is only to catch the ball with his hands. There's a man whose only job is to score. There's a man whose only job is to defend. There's a man whose only job is to dribble. Now, all that come together to make a functional football team. And so when you look at yourself, to be that brand you want to be that unique person, you must be able to say, look, where do I fit in? Not everybody can be a goalkeeper. In your life too, not all of us can be a good writer. Not all of us can speak well. Not all of us can do everything. So you need to find that unique advantage you have over every other person and hold on to it. Next slide, please. So your personal brand essentially is how you see yourself is in two parts. Two things make up your personal brand. How you see yourself, how others see you. The mistake almost all the time we make is that, hey, we live here and we don't think of the other side, forgetting that that is a major component of who we are in the public eyes. So you must consciously think of yourself first and then how people see you. Next slide, please. Now what? They want to switch power. They said so. Eh? Did they say they want to switch power? Eh? No, hold on. If the light goes off, then we can do that. You can't interrupt us now. Eh? Are they going to shut it down? Did they ask us to stop? So let's run. When they stop, then we can plug this on. Now don't interrupt us. However, you must build your brand consciously. It's not going to happen overnight. Next slide, please. Now, why should you care about building your own personal brand, and how can it help you create more opportunities? Next slide. Let's run so I can let my... These are the things that make up your brand. You have values, you have mission, you have visual, you have vision, you have the technology, and these are the things that make up the personal brand. Now, why you must care is that you must be the brand ambassador for your personal brand. You must be accountable for your success or failure. You don't blame the other person. At some point, I'm going to talk about attitude. You make a mistake, take responsibility. Basically, people want to do business or relate with you with those that they like, know, and trust. And you must be that person. And you can't be that person if you don't have a personal brand that is trusted, that is known, that people believe in. That's why I showed the example of those people that we had earlier on, showing how they got there and when they got there. Next slide, please. So, next slide, please. Champions are not made in the ring. Champions are made from something they have deep inside them. You can't be successful overnight. The Muhammad Ali you see walked long and hard. The Ronaldo you see, the Messi you see, all of them worked long and hard to succeed. That Nigeria won bronze, they worked long and hard. That the Algerians won gold, they worked long and hard. And so champions are not made in the ring. Champions are made from something. So how do you develop yourself as a brand? Begin with, ask yourself the following questions. What attributes do people tend to describe you? Now, the reason is simple. If it is always negative, you need to do self-examination. If it is always positive, you need to also be careful that it could be psychophancy. Number two, what attributes would you like people to use? How can you demonstrate those attributes? If you want people to think of you as energetic, passionate, and result-oriented, then make sure you sound that way when you answer your telephone or even meet somebody. As easy, as simple, as down to earth as answering telephone calls. Next slide, please. Now here, I'm sure all of us are on social media. Now, I'm worried for the next generation. Because 10 years from now, some of us will have shot ourselves on the foot on the social media platform. I read some things on social media and my heart bleeds. Because I'm looking and I look at the display picture of the guy, where is this real? And I'm seeing this is a young man in his 20s. And he's done this on a social media platform that the world has access to. Tomorrow, KPMG will want to hire you, they do a background check. And they see that crap you wrote 10 years ago. It defines your character. It defines your personality. You lose that opportunity. Now, I also understand that a few of us, some of us do that because of some quick gains. And you ask yourself, do you want to mortgage your future because of some short-term gains? Ultimately, you'll be the loser. That small money, 10,000 or 20,000 that some people get to go on social media to lampoon and cast aspersions on people, ultimately comes back to haunt you 10 years from now. Whose wife? Is it Donald Trump's wife? Shortly. Next slide, please. So, how to develop yourself? What I'm going to also do is that these presentations will drop it for all of us that are registered that are on that WhatsApp group. We'll drop it on that WhatsApp group. So don't stress yourself too much about trying to copy. We'll drop it on that WhatsApp group for the benefit of everybody. So you start by identifying the qualities and characteristics that make you distinct. What have you done lately to stand you out? What are your greatest and clearest strengths? What are your most noteworthy personal traits? Next slide. I think we should just skip this and go to attitude because of time. Next slide. Next slide, please. Okay. Now, it is time you need to take charge of your life. And here you must first realize that you are a brand. And how do you realize and create your own brand? Next slide. You need to first identify your biggest problem and source of negativity today. A lot of us live and thrive in negativity. I've had young people who come to me, Commissioner, I'm like, what do you have that they want to kill you? And then also I believe, I'm one of those who believe that when God created all of us, God created a script for all of us. So no man can alter your destiny. See yourself as the CEO of your own company. How would you act differently if you own 100% of the shares? Resolve today to stop blaming everyone else and instead accept complete responsibility in every aspect of your life. Who says, why can't you go to school? Let me tell you, most of us know Steve Jobs. Who knows Steve Jobs? The late MD of Apple Computers. Steve Jobs' destiny was defined before he was born. His parents were not very rich. And so, but his parents were determined that Steve Jobs would grow up in a rich family. And so they put him up for adoption even before he was born. And they listed that they wanted a rich family to adopt Steve Jobs. So they sent him to an orphanage the day he was born, from day one. And then, as fate would have it, when it was his turn to be adopted, it was, of course, the follow order. The next family on the line to adopt a child was not very rich. And so Steve Jobs' parents objected and said no, they didn't want their child to be adopted by a modest family. The family had to beg long and hard because they loved the baby boy. So eventually he was adopted by that family. And his life wasn't the same. The family tried to send him to the kind of schools his biological parents wanted. Halfway through, he couldn't continue. They couldn't continue, so he dropped out of school. And according to him, he dropped out of classes and started dropping into the ones he enjoyed. And that was the birth of Apple computers. From dropping out and dropping in, he started having ideas how to bring different funds into computing. And so when he started Apple Computer from a garage, at some point he was fired from his own company. And he left that. When he was fired, he went to form another company called Pixel Metal. Apple Computer now wanted to buy Pixel Metal, and he gave them condition that for me to sell Pixel Metal to you, I must come back to Apple and become the MD. And you won't fire me again. Next slide, please. Now stop making excuses, start making progress. See yourself as the primary creative force in your own life. Resolve today to forgive anyone who has ever hurt you in any way. Let it go. Refuse to discuss it again. A lot of people also bear grudges. Grudges won't help you. It will shorten your lifespan. Next slide. Dress the way you want to be addressed. If you dress like a comedian, you're going to be addressed and treated like a comedian. If you dress like a jester, you're going to be treated and addressed as one. Now, let me quickly look. Let's move. Next slide. Now, who can identify what this is? The iceberg. Okay, next slide. How much of it do you see? The bulk of it is underwater, right? Next slide. Now that is like your life. That's your attitude. That's every one of us. What we see is what we see from your dressing and what you present to us. The bulk of it is underneath. 90% of every one of us seated here is inside us. Whether I'm wearing a dirty underwear, I only know. Unless you get under the water before you know. That is like art. Next slide, please. Next slide. So, what you see is the knowledge and skill I have, and he has, and every one of us has. Our attitude is embedded under that sea. Next slide. And what makes up the attitude? Our values, our standard, our judgment, the impact, our motives, our ethics. Every other thing underneath makes up that. What we see above the sea level is our behavior. Next slide. And so, an attitude is simply a point of view about a situation, what you think, what you do, and how you feel. And like Brian Tracy says, next slide, it is not what happens to you that matters. It is how you react. You lost your job. You go and commit suicide, drink sniper. Papa God will be waiting for you with cane at the gate of hell first before you go the other way. Or at the gate of heaven and flog you to go to hell. Now, 1,001 people have faced misfortunes. And they rose above those misfortunes to become something. I've lost my job. What do? I don't start dwelling that, oh, it's Mr. Okon that made me to lose my job, or Mr. Etimurekbo. Now, okay, I've lost my job. I have to feed. I have to survive. I have to move on. The guy who became Otedola doesn't have two heads. Dangote doesn't have two heads. 3, look for the good in every person and every situation. Now, I have seen people who don't see good in any other person but themselves. I've seen people who look at every situation as if, oh, body fought ghetto, money don't ghetto. And luckily, one of the earlier books I read in my life, Power of Positive Thinking. In that book, Vincent Norman Peale says, when God wants to give you a gift, he wraps it in a bundle of difficulties. The higher and bigger the gift you have, if you look well, you find that's the bigger the difficulty you're going to have. And so when you look at problems, and what is experience? Let me even look at driving, for instance. I've seen companies advertise, oh, they want a driver, 10 years experience. Where is he going to get it from? In those 10 years, the man would have had accidents. So he would have jammed. He's the only lucky reason why he has that 10 years that he didn't die. So life is not a bed of roses. You're going to meet ups and downs and loads of obstacles. And so that's why you must permanently look for the good in every situation, no matter how bad it is. I have a friend who lost his job. He was a legal officer in a bank, and he lost his job under very controversial circumstances. But you know what? While he was working for that bank, he used to complain. He thought his boss was very wicked because his boss used to keep him in the office till 11 p.m. Others had gone. But you know what? 4 years down the line, the so-called week for company secretary, and then looking for legal officers. Our friend applied to be a legal officer. At the interview, he does well and abused his former boss. In 6 months, he was confirmed company secretary. His colleagues, all through their life in the bank, never got to where he got to. Next slide, last one. Now seek the valuable lesson in every pain, every setback, every problem. Now become solution-oriented. Valuable lessons aren't thought, they are experienced. Next slide. Think on paper. You must always think. Let me tell you one of the ideas, examples of thinking on paper I always use. In 2007, one fine day, I sleep with paper, with a notebook. And then I went to shower and an idea came to my head. I jumped out of my bathroom with soap and water. I messed the floor. My wife was screaming that, what nonsense, how can you mess up the floor? So I reached for my pen and paper and I wrote 2 lines. Proudly Africa, truly international. That became Guaranteed Trust Bank. And that's what they're still using. That was 2007. That's what they're still using. It was inside my bathroom. And so imagine how many ideas you've had like that you will come out and then you... Well, this is just deciding to tell our own story. I wish I had time. Maybe at the end of the day, we'll tell our own story. I tried to use pictures to inspire. Unfortunately, it's not very clear. These are when men were boys. This is me. This is in School of Art and Science. And then this is the one-time honorable member of Akwa Ibom State House of Senator Akpabio. When men were boys, you can see a tie. It means that we have come a long way. We're never always the knowns that you know. We have passed through, we have seen the challenges that some of us are seeing. We have seen obstacles. We have seen life differently. I think my cousin is here. There was one time armed robbers came to his house. And then my cousin wore a fake, very cheap chain. And my cousin is big and hairy. So the armed robbers asked us to lie down. And so when they saw the chain, they thought it was an expensive chain. So they cut it. And then looking at it, realized it was fake. And then one of them called the other guy, said, Sikiru, give me now. Let me give this guy, staff sergeant. This uncle is wearing fake chain. He had to bring out, back then, I think 1996, 95? 95. 18,000 naira was plenty money. So he had 18,000 naira, it was in his house. And he threw the money. That was what saved us. The armed robbers dropped the guns and machetes. We were struggling for the money. Now the men in us told us that, let's carry the gun. But I told you, oh boy, you don't know which one is fake and which one is not fake. Oh. Let them go with the money. Next slide, please. Okay, next slide. Let's run. Okay, no, back a bit. Back a bit. Next, last. So these are men. Unfortunately, it's not very clear. So these are men. So that is yours truly, and that is him there when men were boys. So next slide, last one. So importantly, remember that it's in your hands. Whatever you want to be, 10% of your life is made up of what happens to you. And that I've known since 1989.
He said 2 things. The first one was we should try to not just share knowledge, but share something that you can actually go away with and start doing from Monday that can actually make a difference. And what I thought to myself was, okay, hold on a minute. Why don't I take one of the courses that I've customized for CEOs and condense it into a language that is both practical and easy for you to understand and all action-based, so that you can go, if you choose to do it, you can actually see results. But the thing there is that I had to take a 1-day training, a full 1-day training, and condense it into 2 hours. So my question is, do you have the patience to wait for 2 hours? Okay, so if you have the patience, then one problem is solved. The second thing is, because it's going to be 1-day training condensed into 2 hours, I'm going to be moving quite fast. Okay? I'm going to be moving really fast. But I don't want to move so fast that I lose you. Okay? So it's important that if I'm going too fast, just say slow down. And then I won't, even if I'm not listening, just do that. And then I will get the message and slow down, okay? Are we up? Great job. Let me first of all thank our governor, who has decided that he would fill his cabinet with a different crop of politicians. And I think he deserves a round of applause. For the first time, you see a governor who is very much more interested in bettering not just the state, but the indigents of the state, and creating a platform for them to understand that the opportunities that are created in the state is for them. And that if they take advantage of that, they can change the trajectory of not just their life, but the life of their family. And then putting in place people in cabinet that are willing to not just follow instructions, but think. And think about what is good for the society and for the people at large. Now, having said that, I have to also thank my brother. When he mentioned this, I told him it's a no-brainer. The question was, just tell me when you want me to turn up. And when he said, oh, you're the first person I want to speak, I felt honored. So thank you very much, Honorable Charles Udoh. I'm going to be speaking to you about something that I'm very passionate about. And it's something called efficacy. He's spoken to you about the Know Your Toro Foundation. I had always thought that the solution to, when I say all, I mean all, the solution to all of our problems as a nation, as a people, is situated in knowledge, or lack of it. And that speaks to education. And that's what we're going to be speaking to today. I want to teach you or show you some of the tricks, not tricks, show you some of the actions or steps you can take to release something called efficacy. Efficacy is your ability to cause things to happen. When God created human beings, the only difference between us and animals is that thing that was put inside us, which causes us to cause things to be. But I'm sure nobody has ever taught you that in a school or in social science. But I want you to take that away today. Efficacy is your ability to cause things to be. You cannot die. Now, listen to me carefully. You cannot die until you lose efficacy. You might want to write that down. You cannot die until you lose efficacy. What do you mean? Supposing a trailer hit me, won't I die? Actually, no, you won't. Your spirit cannot leave your body until you lose efficacy. You have to absolutely give up. You need to give up before the spirit exits your body. The spirit can't exit your body without your consent. Let me tell you a short, something you may have noticed. Have you noticed instances where somebody is said to be medically dead, but the line refuses to flat? They call flatlining. The line refuses to go flat. But medically, the person is dead. But the implication of that is that all of us sitting in this room today, if by magic they took us as we are now and took us into life in 15 years' time and dropped us in it, we could not survive. I mean, you literally will not survive. You will die in a day because you do not have the skills to survive in the future of 15 years' time. It might seem dramatic to you, but it's true. But you know what that also means? It means that it is a level playing ground, but you just don't realize it yet. Those who realize it are doing things about it. And so that's what I want to do today. Just open your eyes to the world of possibilities. What you choose to do with it is your call. Next slide. So I'm going to be using a very popular adage. You know, back in those days, it might be you understand that? Now, some of you don't understand the language, so I'll translate. Okay? Because I know I have the benefit of having some of my friends from the area command here. I think about 8 people from the Nigerian Police Udoh area command. Are you guys here? Let me see, show of hand. Oh, they didn't get seats. Sorry, that means you guys didn't come early now. I told you only one person. Do you know the meaning of 50 books? 50 books means 2 books a week. In fact, what am I talking about? 50 books is 1 book a week. Because there are 52 weeks in a year, isn't it? 50 books means 1 book a week. Only one person. Okay. If you've read 24 books in the last 12 calendar months, raise your hand. 1 person. 2. Now listen to me. You shouldn't be laughing. It's not funny. Write down this sentence. Knowledge is codified in text. Knowledge is codified in text. Let me explain what that sentence means. It doesn't mean that if you read a book, you will get knowledge. That's not the meaning of the sentence, if that's what you translated it to mean. It means that knowledge is encrypted in text in books. When you read the text, it doesn't mean you acquire the knowledge. It means you can read the text. But when you read it over and over again, you may learn the act of decoding the text, and then you begin to get knowledge. Knowledge in itself is useless until you apply it. When you apply it, it becomes wisdom. It is wisdom that saves you. But you have nothing to apply. You haven't read it in the first place. Most people who have become industry captains, who have led their industry, who have been successful in the things they're doing, if you go and check properly, one of the habits they have is the habit of reading. They read far, they read wide, regardless of whatever profession they belong in. If you're not reading, you cannot give what you don't have. You can't sell from an empty basket. And I'm not asking you to read technical books. Read novels. Read magazines. Read what you love. We used to read Robert Ludlum in our own days. James Hadley Chase. There were some also many. How many people? I'm surprised people are not even reading Wole Soyinka anymore. I asked you 2 books and nobody could raise their hands. That's a problem in itself. But I'm going to tell you the consequence when we go on presenting. So I'm going to just tell you a story through adage. Let me show you the next slide. There were 2 mice and 2 small men who discovered cheese. Take cheese to be corn, for those who don't know what cheese is. But rats love cheese a lot, just like the way they love corn. They discovered a very large bundle of, in fact, so big a quantity of corn that they just felt life is made. We would always have food. In fact, the 2 small men were so happy with the discovery of the corn that they even moved their house. They sold their houses and came and built their houses beside the discovery of the corn. And they started eating. The rats, 2 rats called Scurry. Move back slightly. Back. 2 rats. No. Move forward. Am I getting the slides on next one? There's a hidden slide. Go back. No, there's a hidden slide. Forward. I'll tell the story anyway. Yeah, stay there. The rats called Scurry and Sniffy kind of knew in their head that this thing might be plenty, but it could finish one day. So every day they would go and eat, but they would sniff around, scurry around it to check how much was left. But the 2 small men, they were like, that means till we die, this food can't finish. So they would stay there, they were eating. But the rats kept eating, checking. And very simple. Next slide. The first lesson is that no matter how much you have today, no matter how wealthy your parents are, and no matter how poor you are today, or no matter how poor your parents are, there is always more. No matter the condition you are in today, there is always more. No matter how poor, no matter how rich, there is always more. So you should start chasing around, start looking around. Where is this more? Why am I not getting it? Why are other people getting it? Are they better than me? You have to start thinking along that line. If there is more, where is it? Why am I not getting it? And that is what I'm hoping the seminar today would unleash in you. I'm not going to be giving you a lot of answers. I'm going to be asking you a lot of questions. And I think if you take those questions away and you dwell on them, you will be amazed what is going to happen to you. And I'm saying it because I've done this before. I've been doing it for 22 years. And I've seen people who have trained become CEOs of companies. So I'm not speaking you happy. The second thing, stay on that slide, please. The second thing is that it is only as difficult as the day you start. No matter how difficult things are, it is only so difficult until the moment you start. How many people here play football? If you played football before, raise your hand. Okay, the women, I don't expect the women to raise their hand. I saw a lady raise her hand there. You do? Raise it properly. No wonder you're so pretty. Women who love football and play football are always very pretty. Have you noticed that when you are playing football, if you have an important match, before you enter the match, what happens? You're nervous. Your heart is beating. Correct? But the moment the referee blows the whistle and the match kicks off, what happens? You don't even remember to be afraid. Have you also noticed that when you are deep in a very difficult match, you actually don't hear the crowd? I mean, the crowd can be very big and they are shouting, but you actually literally don't hear them. It is only as difficult until you start. Next slide. The other lesson is that no matter how big the cheese is, I've already spoken to you about it, it will never last forever. No matter what you have today, no matter what advantage you have today, whether you have people sending you to school, whether you have a godfather, whether you are in a position of authority, whether you are poor, whether you are struggling, no matter what it is you have today, positive or negative, it will not last forever. You had better start thinking of your next big game. If you're not thinking about it, it is going to happen anyway. And that's what I'm about to unleash for you today. So change would happen. So don't believe that anything will stay the same forever. Next slide. There is always cheese to be found. What does that mean? That means there are always new wealth to be found. The moment you start, things will improve. Next. I am not going to talk about these slides because I want you to go and read the book. So the book is very cheap. I think they sell it about 800 naira, 1,000 naira. You can even get it 400 a year. It's very cheap. So make a mental note to buy the book. It's called Who Moved My Cheese? All right? Next slide. Now, let's do a small exercise, and I'm going to be asking questions. Take a look. That's what they call a maze, by the way, in case when I said maze, some people thought I was talking about corn. No, I wasn't talking corn. I was talking maze, this maze. When you look at the maze, look at this picture first. That's a maze. What do you notice? Who wants to comment? What do you notice about that image? Yes, speak out. Yes. Coordination. Now, when somebody or anything is in a maze, that's when something is inside this maze. What do they feel? If somebody is in a maze, what are the things you feel inside you? You feel lost. What else? You feel trapped. That's true. What else? Who said fear? Excellent. You feel fear, apprehension. Now, with that mindset, now that you are looking at the maze from outside, what do you see? Sorry? Opportunity. But what else? You see the exit. But have you also noticed that there's a bigger thing beyond the maze? But when you are in the maze, can you see that bigger opportunity? You know what happens? When you are in a maze, there are always people who are either have been through it or are standing outside the maze. If you could only reach out to them for help, they are seeing a bigger picture. They could guide you to come out of the maze. Is that true? At least you can see that now from the image. A person who has the view that you have now, if he's guiding somebody that is in the maze, can guide them to come out, can't he? That's possible, isn't it? And that is what the Honorable Commissioner is trying to do to you today. And I think you should be very grateful to him. He has been through that maze, by the way. And that is what he's saying. Look, guys, I don't want these people to go through what I went through. Maybe I can show them a bit of the light. Maybe I can discuss a bit with them. Maybe I can share experiences with them every year. Maybe that would help. And I'm hoping that it does help. Next slide. So, my own take, number one, you're not a mouse. You're far more intelligent than a mouse. And I do not believe that anybody in this nation is better than us. They have opportunities like we have. They have challenges like we have. I think if you apply yourself to it, you can actually get over any challenges you have. You are as talented, you are as rich, and you can weather whatever changes are coming. Secondly, the problem is not so much the maze itself or that the mouse is in the maze. That's not where the problem is. The problem is the maze that is inside the mouse. Many times you don't have any problem. You are the one creating the problem inside you. I am not good enough. I am too short. I am too tall. I am too poor. I am not educated. It is not the maze. It is what is inside of you. And I'm hoping by the time we are done today, you would see that more clearly, and that would help you unleash those problems. Thirdly, if you try, if you only try, it will amaze you what you can achieve. And by the time we finish the exercise, I'm making a lot of promises to you. By the time we finish this exercise, if you practice all the things I'm talking about, it will surprise you what you can unleash. Why am I telling? Move to the next slide. Next. Yeah. So, I've finished telling you that story to explain to you that there are changes occurring that you can take advantage of. You are good enough to take advantage of those changes. Now, let's talk about some of those changes. Now, it gets a little bit more practical, more technical. But don't let it. There are a number of disruptive forces happening in the world today. And it is not peculiar to Nigeria. It is all over the world. And it is going to affect you whether you like it or not. So the better you understand it, the earlier you understand it, the better for you. So it might sound complicated, even if boy come back already and all that. To take you through those disruptive forces. And then I will see, in those days, most, not all, most of our forefathers never lived beyond 50. Forget now, this song. I can tell you this song, then song, but 60. There were a few of them that lived to be 80, 100, but there were very few. The vast majority died before they were 60. You know what was killing them? There were diseases that were from bacterial illnesses. Illnesses from drinking bad water, illnesses from eating poor food. You know, they were diseases. But you know the funny thing, people don't die of diseases caused by bacteria anymore. Yes, people are dying from viral illnesses because there's no real cure for that. Most of you are going to do 3 or 4 careers before you die. And it's irrelevant from what you are going to do. You need to know what is happening in trend, because the first thing you learned doesn't mean that is what's going to be your source of livelihood. When my brother was introducing me, he told you that I studied engineering in school. I studied civil engineering, by the way. I specialized in structures. And if you're talking challenges, I knew challenges. By my year 2 in university, my dad stopped paying my school fees. That's after I was telling some of my mentees this afternoon. By my second term, year 2 in university, that was the last time my dad paid my school fees. But by my first year out of university, I had 5 years engineering experience. My friends came to me and said, oh, there's an American company that is recruiting people, and it's only very bright people they want. And that people from Unilag, people from, and this is a true life story. And Kunle drove me in his mother's station wagon then. I don't know if you guys know what the car is to call. It's the car they call station wagon. It's one long car like this. Drove me, there were 9 of us, packed 9 of us from Unilorin to go and write the exam in law school. In Unilag. Near passport. They are talking America. American come to Mongsi Wodo green. Sorry for those who don't understand the language. What means that in America, the water coming out of the tap is green. When you drink it, you don't die. So I was nervous. But anyway, cut a long story short, I was successful eventually, narrowly, by the grace of God. And then they shipped me off to the US to go and study and to program. But after, of course, I didn't have a passport. They had to do my passport and all that. After that training, and I came back to the country, something became very clear to me. All the 5 years of engineering, hydraulics, quantum physics, trigonometry, all those stupid theories they used to teach us that I couldn't understand, all those things were useless. That is, Mbofen for 5 years for nothing. I came into a new environment where I couldn't understand what they were saying. I would sit in meetings with my colleagues. They are speaking and speaking all this grammar. I don't understand. But of course, I can't tell them I don't understand. So I had to pretend that I understood. At night, I will go away. When they have gone away to drink, I am home studying. I'm reading the meaning of management. I'm trying to understand the difference between debit and credit. This is post-debit, okay, credit, okay. I had to start relearning from scratch because I knew that this was a one-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And the fact that I did not know didn't mean I cannot know. And then I started studying. Let's cut a long story short. My brother told you already. Fast forward 15 years. I became a partner in the company. I became the MD of the company. I'm not asking you to applaud. I'm telling you to understand that it doesn't matter where you are. There's always more. The question has always been, do you want it? The reason why people don't get things is not because it is impossible to get. It's because they don't want it. When you want it long enough, the Spirit will create the means for you to get it. We are going to unpack it. You are going to say, Abante Taniko for Abbas. You don't call for Abbas, it's science. I'm going to unpack it for you so you can see. I have just spoken to you about longevity. What is the consequence of longevity? You're going to live longer. You're going to go through multiple careers. Better start thinking right now. What you know now is going to become irrelevant. And it's even already become obsolete. For those that are still in school, congratulations. The course you're studying right now is already obsolete. As you are getting your certificate, just put it, frame it nicely, put it on the wall, forget about it. Because it is already obsolete. The second thing is something they call the computational wall. Increasingly, our computing power is getting stronger. The phone you've got in your hand today is more powerful than what we used to call a mainframe 20 years ago. You know what the mainframe was? It was the main processing computer, sometimes in big corporations like a whole bank. What you have in your hand as a phone now is more powerful than what they were calling mainframe then. But guess what? In another 10 years, what people are going to be carrying as handhelds will stun you. Now, when you have increasing computing power and people living longer, there's an opportunity. It's called transdisciplinary opportunity. That means the ability for you to take the skills from one place and apply it in another place. Those who have that skill right there can make money. Now, how do you pick up that skill? That's what we're going to talk about today. Secondly, look at this circle. There's this circle they call the rise of smart machines. It's a reality. The rise of smart machines. Chief, sit down. You're spending too much time taking pictures. You're not listening to me. Find a seat, and you're also distracting other people. The rise of smart machines and systems. In the next, I don't know, not even 10 years, in the next friend to introduce, or even if you're bringing your friend to introduce, and your friend is a man, and he's coming with his wife, and it just happens that his wife is a man, and you want to take him home to go and introduce your parents, you are very uncomfortable because you say he's a homosexual, right? If your friend is a woman and our wife is a woman, you are very uncomfortable going to introduce her to Mabi? Okay. In another 5 years, your friend's wife will be a machine. So if you are uncomfortable now, start thinking how you will be then. Because people are now actually beginning to get into relationships with machines. And I'm talking about emotional relationship with machines. And I'm talking about machines that have sex with them. That is the fact. That is the rise of smart machines. Would they ever overpower man? Would they ever take over man? I don't think so, but that's a different conversation. But the important thing is for you to be aware that this is happening. It is an evolution that is taking place. It is a fact. If you relate that to this evolution that's happening, it's called the new media ecology. The new media ecology is talking about new communication tools and the new skills that is required to communicate in that media space. My brother talked about social media and the language of social media. Social media is going to get even bigger. And that entire what do you call it, disruptive force, the new media ecology, if you don't know how to live in that ecology, ecology means interplay of different forces. If you don't know how to play in that space, you will get burnt. Many people are already getting burnt, by the way. Some of you seated in here, I would love to say, God bless you and all that, but the truth of it is I am convinced that in this kind of sample size, several people have already gotten burnt. They just don't know it yet. My job is not to hire people in Dangote. When people hear is the group chief HR officer for Dangote Worldwide, it's a lie. I don't hire people. I don't get involved in hiring. My job is to develop strategy for continuing to ensure that we have the right kind of people that can feed the fastest growing conglomerate in Black Africa. Mine is to think through it. There are people who are doing the execution. If you have skills, I can obviously refer you if you have the skills, but that isn't my main job. But what you find is that in the hiring space, there are people who are eminently qualified to do several kinds of jobs who will never get the job because of probably one simple sentence they wrote on social media 15 years ago. They will never get it. So let me just take this opportunity to educate you if you are sitting in this room. Please, please, do not go on social media to argue points or debate points with anybody that is being abusive about religion, gender, politics, race. Don't get involved. If you express a point of view and the person gets abusive, don't respond. Just simply walk away. Values come to and create money. If you combine that with computational world, is design mindset. Your ability to sit down and think through what is the next problem people are going to have and design a solution before the problem occurs. All of these bubbles, and like Charles said, these are proprietary material, but I'm willing to share it. So I'll give it to the commissioner. I can share with you. Okay? So you can read it later. All of these bubbles you see here are opportunities for you to make money. The one that I love most is this bubble here. It's called the virtual collaboration. That's between superstructures and global connectedness. This is your ability to work with people that you don't even see to craft solutions. And I'll give you an example, and these are real life examples. There's a friend of mine called Uvier. He lives in my estate. He's moved out of my estate now. And a mentee of mine called Bimbo. Bimbo I mentored a long time ago in Anderson. Bimbo has been talking to me about creating a solution that aggregates pharmacies and helps people to buy correct drugs. So when you buy drugs, you know that the drug is authentic. But when you buy the drugs can be brought to you wherever you are, whether you're in a village or not. So long as you can access the app and state the drug you want to buy, A pharmacy closest to you that is on that network will bring the drug to your village using an existing technology, the Uber technology, whether it is a bike or it's a car. Very soon, we'll even be able to deliver by drones. Okay? Simple technology. Drones are easily available and they're cheap. With $500, you can buy what she designed. Thinking. The other guy, Uvier, his own point was, people in the villages are dying because doctors don't want to go and work in the villages. So how about if I make people in the villages have access to doctors in America? We're like, hold on a minute, how is that possible? He said, simple. If I could make it possible for you to enter or even have your son enter the symptoms you're feeling in an app, and I could have doctors available 24/7 to read those symptoms and to look at the geographical location, because your phones, all the phones you have here already have location maps. They can tell you, you don't even have to tell me where you are. Once you're chatting with me, I can use your location map to track where you are. Use that location map to see the predominant kind of illnesses around there. I can more, with levels of certainty of 90 to 100%, tell the ailment you're having from the symptoms. If you could put in those symptoms in an app, and a doctor available 24/7 assesses it, diagnoses you, and then prescribes a drug. And if you're not comfortable with the prescription, it allows you call and deliver to you. And they are both Nigerians. And then you say there are no opportunities. That's millions right there. What did they discover? What did they invent that wasn't there before? Just thinking. Why have I taken you through this? All I want to tell you is that these disruptive forces, take the slides later, go and Google them, read them. Most of you use your social media for chatting and looking at pictures and all that. This is what people are using social media for. Go and read these things. I want you, let me not talk about the end of the slide at the beginning. I want you to start thinking along the lines of, which problem do you own? If you want to make it in life, if you want to be relevant, you have to own a problem. There has to be a problem, for near problem, you can't own because you want to solve it. Because that is where the opportunities are. If you do not have a problem that is yours, that is worrying you, that you are struggling to solve, let me tell you the technical word for it. It's called gig. If you don't have your own gig, which is a problem that is uniquely yours to solve, you are irrelevant. And you are going to be increasingly irrelevant in the future that you guys are going to be living in. Me and my brother are over 50. Maybe we'll put in another 15 years. After that. But you people sitting here, you have a lot more ahead of you. You haven't done your first or second career yet. You still have about 5 more to do. So better start listening carefully. Next slide. No, go back. Now, when you listen to what I've described, what are your feelings about the future you are going into? Excited or fear? A mixture of fear and a bit of excitement. That is natural. Now, why I've taken time to break it down for you like this, I want you to even see it first. When you see it, it is okay to feel trepidation. It is okay to feel apprehension. But I want you to do what we are about to talk about anyway, even with your apprehension. Because the fear is real. The future is real too. These changes are going to happen. There's nothing you can do about it. Next slide. What is trepidation? Trepidation is a feeling of fear. It's a feeling of not knowing. How will I be relevant in this thing? If these things are truly going to happen, what do I know? What do I have? Do I have enough? Can I adapt? Can I learn? How much can I learn? Do I have enough time to learn? Have I gone too far? Am I too old? Am I too young? All of those are real concerns. But let me settle your mind. None of those concerns can stop you. And it's not a prayer, it's a fact. None of it can stop you unless you allow it to stop you. Why are you so confident, Hussein? Let me show you. Next slide. That is what these sessions are about. And this is what the Honorable Commissioner is trying to do. This session and all sessions from now onwards. If I were you, in fact, let me tell you a prediction. If it's not a prediction, I guess you can see it already. The next session that is going to happen after the outcome of this session goes out and goes public, this room will not contain the next set of people. That's already obvious. So, Oga, you have to start reconstructing. Because once this goes out, and I think the next speaker is someone by the name of Alex Goma. He's the current MD of PZ. He's also my friend. I know the guy. Alex is a visionary, and he's somebody I respect very much. He's somebody who is in the industry. When you talk about fast-moving consumer goods, it's an authority. I can already tell you that you guys are in for a swell time for the next 12 to whatever months. I know people who from Lagos and Co are saying they wish they could come. There's actually somebody here who flew in from Abuja. Her name is Deborah Bassi. Is she here? Is Deborah Bassi around? Stand up, let's see you. I know she hates attention. I know she didn't know I was going to set her up for this. Okay, stand up, stand up, stand up. She flew in from Abuja specifically for this. Guess what? I've never met her before. Never seen her before. That's why I couldn't even recognize her. So how did you know? Simple. She didn't know the venue. It wasn't posted. Charles and his team did a fantastic job of hiding the venue until the very last minute, and they let only those who registered know the venue. She didn't register. So she didn't know the venue, but she was determined to. So she kept using the hashtag to find people, tracking the hashtag. And then she tracked my hashtag and said hi. I looked. It wasn't somebody I knew. I was busy preparing. Person said, hello, good afternoon. I don't normally respond, but I was like, okay, yes, hello. I said, oh, I hear you're going to speak at this event. I said, yes, can I help you? And she said, oh, I don't know the venue. So I said, did you register? She said she didn't know she was supposed to register. I said, okay, well, sorry, you're supposed to register. Bye. She was like, no. I flew in from Abuja specially for this, but I didn't know I was supposed to register. So because she said she flew in from Abuja, I said, okay, you can't fly in from Abuja and I will just leave you stranded. So I gave her a contact of somebody, I can't remember who, somebody that they had given me the number. I said, reach out to this person. If they have space, they will take you. And she did. Now, why was I so impressed? Because if somebody saw an opportunity and thought I needed to learn and could pay their ticket from Abuja to come, the least you can do is get them into the room. I'm sorry, I didn't ask for your permission, but I'm going to share what you told me. So I got interested and I asked her, tell me a bit about yourself. Why are you traveling from Abuja to come and listen to a seminar by the... And she said, oh, she studied petroleum engineering in school. She passed out with a fantastic degree from one of the very good universities in Nigeria. I said, okay. So what are you doing now? She said she's doing a second degree in physics. Oh, petroleum engineering, and you're doing physics. I mean, something won't wear. She said, oh, that she actually wanted to study mathematics. But that when her parents said she would go and do engineering, so she decided to do petroleum engineering. I thought, you went from physics to a more complicated course like petroleum engineering, you finished, and then you came back and said you still want to do your physics anyway. So she came back and still went back and she's doing her physics. I'm like, okay, that's impressive. And I said, oh, by the way, so I said, what has that got to do with the seminar? Why are you coming? She said, oh, she's setting up a conglomerate. I'm sorry I'm exposing you like this, but I need to use you as an example. Well, all apologies. I did tell you I was going to try and set you up. She said she's setting up a conglomerate. Why? I said, oh, she's trying to set up a cosmetic line of business. I'm like, hold on a minute. Petroleum engineering, physics, cosmetics. Where is the correlation? Why are you setting up a cosmetic conglomerate? She said, oh, I want to rule my own empire. So I asked her, why? She said, oh, because I think I can help young people, I can do this, I can do that. Stop, go cancel. Tell me the real reason. Is it because of, and I wrote dollar, yen, euro. She said, well, to be perfectly honest, yes. That she wants to make money. And I thought it was important that I highlight that today. It's good. You must set up, you must have an ambition, you must be driven by that ambition. And all of the answers were perfect. But I also want to add something to that. Businesses that are driven by the urge to make money never become conglomerates. Never. They make money. They make money, but they don't become conglomerates. If you really want to become a business that's a conglomerate, as an empire, you must be driven by purpose. When you are driven by purpose, money is just a byproduct. But I was so impressed that a young lady and these are the people, you are sitting here in Akwa Ibom, some of your people are busy playing football out there. People are traveling in search of this knowledge. Next one, you'll be surprised there will be a lot more people from outside Akwa Ibom here than those of you that are here. But that's not my worry. For those of you that are here, take what you're going to get out of this session and do something with it. So if we are able to challenge how you think, we will change how you act. I see too many young people, I'm glad to say not the ones that are in this hall, because I can see from the faces here that people are so concentrated. I can't see anybody getting up to go and... So these are a different crop. But you are not a representation of the youth in Akwa Ibom. So let's not fool ourselves. You guys are not a representation of the youth in Akwa Ibom. So you still have work to do. When you go out there, you need to go and influence people. Because even if all of you are converted and all of you became successful, maybe you can't local government, maybe you can't have driving license, maybe you can't policeman, maybe imam. You need to go out there and influence the other people, because no matter how successful you are, if those others don't get converted, you are going to live in the community with them. So it's not good enough for you to be successful. You must influence the people around you. And if you can change the way they think, then we will change the way they act. Next slide. Let me tell you, most of the time, the things we say are difficult, things we say are impossible. They are just mental prisons that we create for ourselves. And you may want to write down this quote, although you'll get the slides anyway. We live in mental prisons of our own creation, trapped by the beliefs we hold about ourselves. If you say you are not good enough, you are not good enough. If you say you are good enough, you are perfect, you're good enough. Whatever it is you say is what it is. I don't have enough time. This is just a 2-hour session. That's why I said I can't unpack it. The Bible says, as a man thinketh. It wasn't just... That phrase in the Bible is an entire course. That phrase, as a man thinketh, so he is an entire course that I deliver. A course on its own. Of your ability to cause things to be. That's what I'm trying to condense for you. That is the entire course. As a man thinketh, so it is. But I'll give you a very small snippet of it, because we don't have time. But I hope if you can just go with it, you'll be able to at least read around it later. Next slide. See, in India, they use elephants for ceremonies. They use it for their outings, market day ceremonies, where they put people on the elephant. They dress the elephants nicely. Some of you must have seen the video. You've seen pictures of it, right? Elephants in Indian markets and all that. But you know, some of those elephants are also used to do hard labor. That is, they take them to forest, they cut down big lumbars and tie those lumbars to the elephants, and the elephant pull the lumbars out of the forest and put them on trucks that take them away. You've seen that done too, right? The owners of those elephants really surprise you that sometimes when they take those elephants home, they tie them sometimes to very flimsy things, and the elephants never escape and they never go anywhere. Why? It's an elephant. This elephant can pull down lumbars. You see them, the elephant is walking during the day, pulling down trees, but he gets home, they tie it to a small shrub, and the elephant won't go anywhere. Why? Let me tell you what happens. When they capture those elephants as small toddlers, they tie them to shrubs at home. Tiny shrub. You know what a shrub is? It's those small plants that don't have deep roots. They just tie the elephant to shrubs. But because the elephant is a baby elephant, it's not strong enough. It cannot pull the shrub. So the elephant tries. After a while, it cannot pull it, so it just relaxes. and then they'll feed it around the shrub. And then the elephant grows. They keep feeding it around the shrub. And then it grows. It gets bigger, and they keep tying it around the shrub. And no matter what you do, the elephant will never leave that shrub. It will wander around it, it will tug on it, but it will never leave the shrub. You know why? Because the elephant has grown up believing that it is not strong enough to pull the shrub. But once you take the elephant away from that shrub, and you move it to the forest, and you tie it to a tree, and you steer it to move, it will move and pull down the tree because it believes it can pull down the tree. But take that same elephant away that evening and take it back home and tie it to the shrub. Even if the house beside it is burning down, it cannot move. You know why? Because it believes it is not strong enough to pull down the shrub. That is the mental prisons we create about ourselves. I can give you many examples of people who have limited themselves, not because they don't have the skills. I don't want to use the word potential because it opens up a different kind of worms. I don't have time to unpack potential for you. I don't want to even use the word potential. They believe they are not good enough. They believe they don't have what it takes. I don't have the connections. I don't have the money. I don't know the people. I don't understand the market. I don't have the technology, so I cannot do it. All of those things are irrelevant. The only relevant thing there is the fact that you said, I cannot do it. Once you say you cannot do it, all the elements sanction that belief. And then you can't. And then it won't happen. Another example I will give, at the risk of, because I want to really unpack this part for you to get it, because if you get it, then everything we say after follows logically. And then we did motor second-hand car. If you've ever bought a second-hand car, raise your hand. You know when you want to buy a second-hand car, what happens? You first of all tell your friends, I want to buy a car. They tell you, what car do you want to buy? I just want a car that is around this budget. They say, don't buy automatic, because if you buy automatic, they can't repair it. Buy manual, so you find people that can repair it. They'll give you all kinds of advice. Don't buy Nissan, buy Toyota, so they can repair it. So you can find the parts. People who buy brand new cars don't worry about that kind of nonsense. I remember when me and my brother were growing up, when your mechanic goes on a first name basis with you, your mechanic starts, that was an error there. You know your life is finished. Because every time the car spoils, you have to call him down, but come and help me, I'm at so place. But when you have a brand new car, you don't worry about that. But have you noticed that for those who have experienced this thing before, the moment you make up your mind about the brand of car you want to buy, you haven't bought the car yet. The moment you make up your mind about the brand of car you want to buy, you start seeing the car all over the place. Do you think all those people went and bought it because they thought... It's because of something called... I'm trying very hard now to not veer out of my script. Now, pardon me, I'm going to digress a little bit. Is when you sanction something, the moment you consciously sanction something, your brain opens up to it. And it begins to allow you see the things, the information required to make that happen. There's a science around it called scatoma. I'm digressing now, but I want you to get it so you understand this thing is science. There's something called scatoma. Your brain, the way it is wired, God never allowed us to know everything that is going on around us. Because if you could know, if you could be aware of everything going on around you, you will go mental. You will not be able to process, not complete a sentence. So God gave us that skill called scatoma, which blocks out certain information that you say are irrelevant. The moment you say those information are relevant, the brain recognizes that you have said sanction. That's what I meant, sanction. You have sanctioned that this information are relevant, and then it begins to allow that information filter in. Until you sanction, the brain locks them out. But it does it automatically, so you don't realize it. That is why you notice that a woman who has just had a baby, she and her husband can be in this room, and the baby is in the other room. If that baby should cry at 2 a.m., not even cry, just whimper a little, she hears it. But the man is snoring away. But that same woman that hears the whimper of the child in the next room, if an aeroplane should fly over the house, she will not shift. But the man, if somebody should so much as touch the gate a little, pram, the woman is sleeping all the way through. The man has jumped out and is checking on the window there. What's going on? It's sanctioned. But it happens automatically. That's why I say I'm digressing. But I need you to understand that. When you sanction, it comes, nobody can curse you. If somebody says, it's a lie. There's nothing like that. Don't let anybody. It can't happen. They cannot, someone can't swear. When somebody swears for you or proclaims something on you, it is irrelevant until you sanction it. The moment you sanction it, then it will come to be. That is why you need to be careful about which man of God you run to or which prophet you run to. Because they can proclaim a problem that never was yours. You sanction it, it will come to be. Okay? I told you I digressed. Let me come back. Okay? Why did I take you on that expedition? I want you to understand this concept of scatoma. When you sanction something and you focus your mind on it, it begins to open up the world to you. This is how we lock out opportunities, also because of that scatoma. You see, the moment you say, I can't, your brain recognize that you say those things are no longer relevant, and it shuts down the information that would have made it possible for you. But the moment you say, I can, I will, what you just begin to realize is that you begin to see people wanting to help. You begin to hear opportunities leading to that. You begin to see people, you go to a party, they are serving rice, they are serving drink, and you begin to hear people talking about a deal to construct a building somewhere because you have said you want to build. They were not even talking to you. They were gently talking on their table. It will filter into your ear that the price of sand can be gotten cheaper. Daddy said, were you talking sand? Did you say cheaper? Where? They said that for their rice and phone. So did they call your name? He said, no, pong rice. Yeah, it's time you call sand. That's how it happens. But people are always talking price of sand. They are talking about $1 million projects. They are talking about oil. They are talking about music. They are talking about every opportunity you want. They're talking around it around you. But because you have not sanctioned that you can, those information always get blocked out. And then other people are getting like, I forget I'm the Ekompodo. I use Deborah as an example. I'm sure there are many other people who saw the article that she saw. But because they didn't sanction that, they wanted to, they wouldn't even notice it. Sorry I digress, but I needed you to understand that your ability to cause things to happen is not situated in any prayer. It's situated on your willingness to open your mind and to sanction the right things and to believe in your ability. When you believe that, then you can cause things to be. Then efficacy happens. God created you to be efficacious. After God created man, God never created anything else. He stopped creating. The moment God created man, he stopped absolutely creating. He handed over the business of creation to man. And the thing that he put inside you to cause you to create is that thing they call efficacy. And you can create anything. When I say any, I mean anything. You just have to put up your mind that that's what you want to do, dwell on it, let it consume you, and then you'll be surprised how the opportunities begin to open, and then it unfolds before you. 10, 15 years down the line, after it was all done, you look back and say, even to you, it looks like magic. But it starts with a very simple thing. Whether you believe. Next slide. Having finished that, now I'm going to start wrapping up. So to wrap up, I'm going to take you through, so what is relevant for the future and how do you position? Look at the skills that are going to be relevant starting from 2020 onwards. Look through them very carefully. There's none of those skills that is technical. Have you noticed that? None of them is technical. If you look through 2020, 2015 skills, none is technical. Does that surprise you? None of it is technical. You know why? Many of the technical things are going to become routine. Machines are going to take them over. Accounting skills, obsolete. Sorry, sir, if you are studying accounting, the skills are obsolete. Why? Because machines can do all the accounting. They can do all the audit reports. Legal, every drafting of every legal agreement, versions of it. In fact, right now, many of them are free on the web. They are all clauses. They are there. Architecture, what do you want to design that artificial intelligence cannot design anymore? In the next 15 years, 20 years, people are going to be printing hearts. That is the heart that is pumping blood. People are going to be able to print them. You print the heart, you go to the hospital, they fit it. 3D printing. In 15 years' time, you have a date with a woman, she doesn't go to any shop. She goes into her room, she puts in polymers, and she prints the dress she's going to wear for that day. That's the future you're heading into. So it isn't the dress. It is the design, the ability to think of what is the impression I want to create. The creativity in coming up with the combination that is the skill, not the sewing of the dress. All the mechanical parts are going to be taken care of. So the skills are more of people's skills. Next slide. So when you think about it, the 21st century skills, they are a mirage of it, but most of it is thinking. Critical thinking is the key skill. And that is the skill, I am sorry to say, is most lacking. The ability to think out of the box. You're so busy thinking about nonsense, irrelevant considerations. Our turn, it is our local government, it is our thief. We should protect our own. Absolute waste of your time. When people are thinking of how to change the world we live in, you are thinking of how to protect what? Oil that is going obsolete? These are the skills of the future, the ability to think. And that is what has motivated Charles to say we should do this. And you're going to see that happen. For those of you who are going to go through the 12 months, if you're lucky to get space, I don't know how he's going to manage it going forward, you'll find that this is going to be a recurring theme in every presenter. It isn't the technical skills, it's your ability to think that is going to differentiate what happens. And guess what? Some countries have taken the lead on this. Next slide. America, working with a number of European countries, have already realized this. And they have started figuring out how to incorporate it into their schools from a tender age. And they've created something called the P21. And they're thinking through how to introduce, next, just click once, to God that I've actually come this far, is that ability to take a problem from any sphere, whether it is relationships, it is engineering, it is people, it is technology, and deconstruct it and create a solution. That's what has helped. And that's what these guys are doing in P21. Go down one more slide. Down, next one. Let me break the P21 for you quickly. The P21 is around 3 skills. I'm not going to go into this in detail. There are only 3 major things you need to get right. Life and career skills, learning and innovation skills, and then technology. Life and career skills is your ability to interact with people, to adapt to changes, to be constantly re-engineering yourself, to be willing to be accountable to yourself. That means I don't know it, I'll learn it. Okay? And not make excuses for people or use people as an excuses. Learning and innovation skills is your creativity, your ability to constantly question everything. Question, why are we doing it? Why are we doing it this way? Why must we do it like this? Why are we using this person? Questioning is not an abuse, it's not a fight. You just want to know. Don't ask, every time you ask a question, you don't ask it like as if you are quarreling. It's not the one. You're asking because you want to interrogate this process for quality. Can we do it better? Can we do it differently? Can we do it faster? It is in that interrogation that the opportunities come out. And then obviously the last one is technology and media literacy. I've talked about it. The Honorable has talked about it. I'm not going to dwell on it anymore. Don't spend your time on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook watching pictures and watching this thing. People are using it to create opportunities. That's what that place is for. It's not for watching music and for watching naked women or naked men. It is a tool. It's a business tool. If you use it for the wrong purpose, you'll be still there watching all those movies when people are taking the opportunities right over your head. Next slide. So let me simplify it. And I'm beginning to wrap up now. Your colleagues in future may not necessarily be human beings. Your business partners in future may not necessarily be human beings. You must be able to understand the language. You must be able to create the market for that social interaction. And there are basically 4. They call it the 4 C's. I've expanded it to make it the 6 C's that you need to master. Next slide. So, you know, I already summarized this for you, that in 21st century, there are 3 major skill areas you should focus on. Your life and career skills, learning and innovation, information technology. Next one. 6. The first one is critical thinking. Every single problem is an opportunity to make money. Which one is your own problem? Which one are you owning? That's what you should be focusing on. Which problem are you going to own? If today you don't own a problem, there's no problem that is bothering your heart that you're trying to find a solution to, that you're already obsolete. So, as you're living here now, go and start thinking, which is the problem I'm going to own? And it's not very complicated. You know why? You are blessed to be in Nigeria. Nigeria is full of problems. Plenty. You can choose anyone. I'll tell you one. There's one young girl in Ilaje where, you know, I came from Lagos. I live in Lagos. And she lives in this place they call Ilaje. It's a water swamped area. They sell log. You know when you are on that bridge, going to VI, those places where they sell those log of this sawmill. On that place. The place, there's never light. It's a swamp. Very, very dirty. That's, if I say you can get an infection from looking at the water. Terrible. But her dad is a fisherman. Young girl. And you know what she discovered? That every time they go to fish with people that dad catch me and they fish, before they bring the fish to shore, okay, and the fish most of the ones they've killed are beginning to rot. And by the time they get to shore, if it's the one they are able to sell, immediately they get to shore that they make money from. So a vast majority of the fish rots. And you know what she did? The same social media that you are using watching people dancing and watching dances and watching movies and all that, she used that to create a very simple app. You know what the app does? Text phones for. When the fishermen, her dad and her friends, catch fish in the sea, they can snap the fish, and from snapping the fish, using the density, they're just doing the weight size of the fish, they can guess how big the fish is and all that. And they can load that on the app. By loading it on the app, the buyers, who haven't seen the fish, but have only seen the picture up that hill. But you know what? In my area, we have plenty gari. We have plenty palm oil. And my people are very industrious. Could there be an opportunity there? Even with the bad road? Is it possible for somebody to cluster the producers of gari and palm oil in that area and say, you know what, guys? Don't worry about your palm kernels going bad. Don't worry about your gari making so much that you can't even find buyers. I guarantee you X price. Whatever it is you study in school is just to teach you how to think. But that is not where the solution is. That is not where you have to be. You have to continually back. We will come out from where we were resting, train again in the evening, and then start trekking from stadium back to Pangrove on half akara. But all through that time, one thing that I just remember clearly, and when I think about it now, I'm just thinking, was it coincidence and all that? We were constantly discussing, what will we do? How can we be better? Where would we go to? It wasn't, I'm not sure it was something we did because we were fantastic people or that we were, it was just something we just talked about. What are you going to do next? What are you going to do next? And then he got a job at FITC. I remember when he got the job at FITC, we used to jump. Most of you won't understand. There's something they used to call Molwe. That's Amagireke boss or told me you bucket. You start saying the Lord's Prayer. Because if you fall from that thing, that's your end, you're dead. And that's what he will go to work with. And then he rose through the ranks. He project managed that thing single-handedly. Restructured, redesigned that elephant. You may not realize it, but every single curve or carve on that elephant means something. He crafted it. Scratch. From scratch. While he was still, first of all, this is fantastic. This is a talent we've got. Guess what? Guaranteed Trust stamped him up. He's already told you the story of what he did. He campaigned at Guaranteed Trust. And then while he was still settling, they were like, oh, how wonderful. In fact, they loved him there. The day he went and told them that they were resigning, his boss was so angry with him. I think for months he didn't talk to you. How could, as if his father's name is Guaranteed Trust. How dare you? And then he moved to Diamond Bank. All of the rebranding of Diamond Bank branches before they passed on. Okay. Thankfully, my brother had left them before they passed on. All of the redesign of their branches, how many years ago? He did that also at Diamond Bank. But you know what is unique about all of these experiences? He literally gave his soul every single place he went to. He was working way above what he was being paid. How many of you here have read the book, The Richest Man in Babylon? Thank God, I have a lot more people. If you haven't, I encourage you to go and pick up that book and read it. Towards the end, it talks about how hard work would be your friend. Hard work will protect you. When he left Diamond Bank, he started up his own business. He was just settling his business down when Wema Bank called him. I said, we want you to come and replicate the things you did in all the other banks for us. He was still saying, okay, let me see how we are going to do it. The state called him. Charles never lobbied for the job in the state, by the way. Some of you may have. He wasn't even living here. He didn't know anybody. Simple question was asked. Who is playing in the international space when it comes to information management? We are not talking about local champions. We're not talking about Lagos or Nigeria. International space. And his name popped up. And that was it. You don't need to be doing the work where people see you. It doesn't matter. Just be doing the work consistently. Read The Richest Man in Babylon. It will come back and pay you. Hard work is the payment in itself. It always protects you. And the same story applies to me when I think through my career. I don't have any contacts. When you look at that image, you see two things. Next slide. Just hit once. Please be careful. You see current reality, which is where you are today. And you see the vision. All of us live in a current reality. Few of us have a vision that drives us. But current reality is always very different from vision. Always very different. In between current reality and vision is something called dissonance. I'm sure you're now wondering, somebody need to get a dissonance. What is he talking about? What is dissonance? How many people here are married? Raise your hand. Good. Now, so you understand this part of the story. How many of you have had those 1 week fights with your spouse? Where you are having the fight with madam or with Oga, and you're thinking, when he comes, I know he's going to say this. When he says this, I will say this part like John. Then he will say this part, then I'll counter him with this. How many people have had that fight? You're plotting the quarrel in advance. Now, when you're having those 1 week battles, if somebody comes to visit you, maybe a relative or a family friend, comes and visits you in the middle of that battle, what typically happens? Everybody coordinates, behave. Darling, now you just say, my darling, in those fights, please, darling, bring that food. But in your mind, you're thinking, let this man go. We'll resume battle. But if the man comes or neighbor comes and he stays long and then decides he wants to spend a day, by the second day, what will happen? He will know that something is not right. You know why? It's because the human nature doesn't allow you hold two different views too long in your personality. Now, there are some people that are pathological liars. They can hold two different views for a long time. I'm talking about normal human beings. For the most people, you cannot hold two contrasting views in you for very, very long. The dominant view would play out. But you can hold it for a short period. Dissonance is when you have a disparity between what you really feel on the inside and what is actually happening. When there is that difference, you feel uncomfortable and you have to resolve it. Dissonance must always be resolved. You either resolve it in the direction of current reality or resolve it in the direction of vision. How do you know in which direction you resolve it? You always resolve it in the direction of the most dominant image. I know this is a bit technical, but I'm going to break it down. It's very simple. Whichever of this image is most prominent in your mind is what is going to happen. I'm thinking how far I can break this down, but I'm watching your time also. Perhaps if I told you a story, it will break it down for you. I have a friend. Charles never actually met him. You saw him once, but I don't think you will remember him. His name is Shola. He's alive, so it's not a death story. You can even, for those who are on my Facebook, there are a few of you who are on my Facebook page. If you Google my Facebook page, you see his name there. You can even ask him the story. His name is Shola Ibagbiola. And this is a true life story. I had a girlfriend. I wasn't married then. I had a girlfriend back then. Very pretty, beautiful lady. Charles knows the lady. Light in complexion. Awesome babe. And Shola lived in Munshi. I lived in Bariga. These names mean nothing to you because you live here, but if you've ever lived in Lagos, you understand the areas I'm speaking about. Munshi is the den of armed robbers. Bariga is not much better. But anyway, what I loved about Shola was that whenever I go to visit him, Shola had 2 girlfriends. For me, I couldn't understand how that was possible. That you had 2 girlfriends and the 2 girls knew each other. And the 2 girls will come and visit him. One will make food, and they'll be playing with each other. In my mind, I was thinking, this guy is a Superman. This is life. Not only does he have 2 girlfriends, the 2 girls know each other. They are even friends. I'm like, God, why haven't you blessed me like this? But Anshola wasn't particularly nice to these girls. You know how boys from that area is, you know? But I had one girlfriend that I had to be careful how I spoke. But one day, Shola came to visit he followed me to visit my girlfriend. And then we went to the girl's house, walked in. We saw her on the balcony. We went upstairs. walked into the girl's apartment. The first thing we noticed was that when you the house from the back, you enter into a big space. There were solutions to it. If the dominant image is your reality, is your current reality, it will resolve in that direction. Either way, dissonance must be resolved. What happens most of the time is that all of us sitting here, you've done it before. Think about it. How many times, what happened? All of you had vision. You had aspirations for yourself. You had desires. What happened to those desires? You gave up on them. You know why? Because you resolved dissonance in the direction of current reality. I don't have the time, that's why I can't unpack this completely for you. But dissonance always gets resolved. The direction in which it goes is dependent on what you say is possible. Just hit the button once. Dissonance must always be resolved. But you know the funny thing? Dissonance is actually what unleashes creativity. If you think about it, every single thing that has ever been invented by man was caused by dissonance. A dissatisfaction with status quo that makes you aspire for a vision that is not real yet. And you live that vision so vividly that it dominates you, it overpowers you, it overwhelms you. It becomes what your real life is, and you know that the current reality is only temporary. The moment you get to that point where your vision becomes your real life and the current reality is temporary, creativity happens. And solution happens, and then you move into your vision. That's the simple mechanics of it. Think about it. The house that I live in now, I built that house in my imagination 10 years before I got to that house. And when I say I built it, every single component in the house I live in today, I had constructed it in my head 10 years before. I wish my wife was here to tell you the story. We would saw several houses, and I kept telling her, no, no, no. Many of them finished houses. I told her no. And then we got to this carcass. When I say carcass, nothing. There was no roof, no doors, nothing. In the midst of finished apartments. And she took us to the finished apartments, and no. She's like, what do you want? We've been going around, I've been trying for a whole year. No, it's not what I want. I don't think this is what we should do. Can we have a look at that? And she's like, I'm not going into that place with you. That place, before I go and let Scorpion bite me, this. I just told Agent, can we look at that? And then we went into that place. She stood at the door. She didn't come in. And I went up the staircase. It was, you know how they do construction staircase, very rough, debris on it. Climbed up, looked at it, came back down and told her, this is the house we are buying. She said, God forbid. I said, this is the house we are buying. Like, how? Why, where, what do you want here? Look, they are going to steal our money. You're going to give them, they will never finish it. She gave me all the excuses why it was not possible. But I could, because I already had in my head what the house was like, and I could see the framework of this. I knew what I was seeing wasn't the problem. I was seeing the finished product. And this is a true life story too. Guess what? Fast forward 18 months down the line, that house became the best house in the entire estate. And the developer of the estate started copying the features in the house. Charles can tell you some of the features in the house. Started copying the features of the house to design all of the other houses. That is what happens when you have a vision. The vision, and you let the vision overwhelm you, not the problem. And you get consumed with trying to solve the problem. And when you see people, the thing that's dominating you, solution starts finding you. Solution starts finding you. And before you know it, helpers come from all over the place to make your vision a reality. And then, 10 years down the line, when it is done, they're like, how can I be the emperor? Next slide, just hit one button. In this direction to current reality, or it can be resolved in the direction of your vision. When you say, I don't know, you can be the president of Nigeria tomorrow. Yes, I can be, but I am not in the ruling party. I am not educated enough. I am a woman. I am short. I am light in complexion. I don't have contacts. All you're doing is resolving dissonance. until you get to the point where you satisfy yourself that because of all these valid reasons, I cannot be. And your body says, yes, you are correct, you cannot be. Then you are at peace. And then you go about your work. There's peace. That's exactly what you do. Every single day you wake up, you negotiate with yourself and you bring your vision down until your vision is equal to where you are today. Then there's peace. But some people wake up every single day and they resolve in the direction of their vision. I do not know it yet, so I will learn it. I don't have the skills, so I'll acquire somebody who has the skill. I don't have the contacts, so I'll go and find the contacts. I don't have the education, so I'll find somebody who can teach me. Every single problem is nothing but an obstacle to be overcome in the direction of the vision. You are still resolving dissonance, but in the direction of your vision. Anyone you do is correct. Now, have you noticed something? Look at this equation. The distance between year and year, and the distance between year and year is the same, isn't it? Guess what? The creativity it takes for you to resolve dissonance back to current vision is exactly equal to the creativity it takes to resolve in the other direction. Exactly equal. It's just that one is easier. You keep thinking, you are readily able to find one. The other one, you have to put in a bit of effort. But it's the same. So, why does one happen more than the other? It is because of this formula. I times V is equals to R. If you take your imagination and you overlay on it, make it more vivid, it becomes your reality. The moment you say, this is what I want to do, and then you begin to define it in more clarity, the clearer it becomes, the more it becomes your reality. I apologize, we are overrunning, but if I don't break this down very well, you may not understand it fully. So I know I had begged you to give me time, but permit me to just explain this properly. Okay? I want to use somebody as an example. Sir, can I use as an example? Yes? Are you okay? What car do you drive right now? You don't have a car, a Lexus. What kind of car would you like to buy as your first car? The Lexus. What kind of Lexus? The RS350. The RS350 is an SUV. Okay? Very beautiful car, right? Good? Guess what? I don't want you to buy an RX350. Would you consider a Lamborghini? Oh, yes, please. Do me a Lamborghini any day over an RX350. What's your favorite color? Blue. Can you imagine yourself in a blue Lamborghini? How does that feel? Nice, eh? What's your favorite interior leather colors? Eh? A brown, a calabash brown. Now, brown on blue interior will look kind of weird, but it's you, isn't it? Guess what? So you set up a new trend. The color of your interior is calabash brown, but guess what? It is made with calf leather. That means you lie down on the leather, it feels like. How does that feel? Are you married? How many kids would you like to have? 4. Nice. So imagine on a Sunday afternoon, you know most Lamborghinis are never sunroofed, but yours is specially made, custom made, built with a sunroof, retractable, and you have your wife sitting in front of the car with you, your 4 kids at the back. What kind of music? Beautiful sax. When I told him a Lamborghini, he said yes. But as I began to add more detail to it, he became more enthused about wanting it. You may sit down. He became more enthused about wanting it. The more you take your imagination and you add detail to it, it becomes your current, becomes your reality. It becomes what you are speaking about. You become consumed about it. It becomes the only conversation you want to have about people. This is what I do. This is how I do it. I make salt. This is how I make salt. That you don't call salt. Moto say use salt. This is come salt. You get moto. Every single conversation goes back to your vision. When you do that, that becomes your reality. It will always resolve in the direction of the dominant image. If the dominant image is your vision, you can be sure it is just a matter of time before you deliver. But when you don't have a vision, you don't have anything driving you, it will always get resolved in the direction of your excuses. And that's what most of us suffer. Next slide. Either which way, dissonance unleashes creativity. The creativity to resolve it in this direction or resolve in the opposite direction, it would happen. Next slide. So, I want to be a part of solving this particular problem. This is the skill I'm bringing to solve this. Come and tell us more. That is the economy we belong to. That's the thing we belong to. Now, there are different ways you can be a gig player. You can be solving, you're a goal-based gig player. That's people who want a full-time job, but they are picking up ad hoc pay. Next one, you can be a hobby gig player, where you're doing things, you're solving problems as a hobby. And you can be making money. You can be a stopgap gig player. That means you are in between jobs. Or you can be a career gig worker, which means as your career, you don't want to work for anybody. You want to be going around solving problems. Once you solve the problem, you take the cut of the benefit, you move. And these are different constructs of gig players that are already playing out now. And then you have the part-time gig player. Next one. Whichever one you choose, these are the things you need to play to. And please pay attention. I'm speaking to you now particularly, based on our conversation. The first one is have a clear financial plan. You must have a clear financial plan. You must be able to speak the finance language. It doesn't matter what you studied in school. If you cannot speak the finance language, you don't understand the impact of inflation. You don't understand what the impact of inflation is on your plan. You don't understand the impact of exchange rates on your plan. You don't understand what happens when a Yahoo boy scams somebody in the US and brings the money into Nigeria and splashes the money in the party. You don't understand how that limits you. If you can't see the tie, you're in trouble. You must be able to speak the finance language. You must be able to understand why it is not right for somebody to steal money from government, even if this person is coming to spend it on you. Because it's taking money that hasn't produced value and is giving it to you, it is only going to drive inflation, which limits your opportunity. If you can't see the correlation, regardless of if the person brought the money and gave it to you, the person has invariably killed you. Because if you personally don't die now, you can make money. It is not sustainable. Start a business to deliver on it. He and I share a lot in common. We have cried together. Sometimes there are tears of deep pain. And it will stun you the days when we have really cried. And we have also joyed together, sometimes tears of joy. But there's something that I've found that has worked consistently for him, and I've seen it has worked for me. Now that I have children, when I was younger, I thought I was a Superman. Nothing fazed me. I thought I could do anything. I wasn't scared. As a young person, I could jump as high as I wanted to. I could play football for a whole weekend. I could party as long as I wanted to. I could drink as much as I wanted to, and I'd still get in the car and I'd drive. I thought I was a Superman. And then I started having children. I started being responsible for a wife. I started realizing that I wasn't a Superman after all. There's something I discovered that has worked very well for me. And that's what I'm going to share with you. And this secret is probably where I'm going to end. And I think it's very important that I do it, because if I don't, then everything I've said to you would go amiss. Now, to do this part, though, I need help. Don't hit that button, Oga. I'm going to need help. So I need the finest woman in the house to come and assist me. If you're confident that you are the prettiest woman in this house, and you are, step up to the stage. Oh, I love this woman. That's, we are in Bakara. Come. Let me help you up. What's her name?
Patience Matthew.
Patience Matthew. If I hang yourself, How much, just let me give you, don't take the mic. So, you know, when you see a babe that is so confident as she steps out, you'll be thinking to yourself, okay, this thing is being recorded. I'm sure my wife will watch it. Dad, be careful what you say there because you are coming back to Lagos. Well, you know, but this is what we're talking about. Isn't she beautiful? She is. Awesome. How do you want me to address you, Mrs. Matthew? Patience, Mrs. Patience. You want to address me as Patience. But you are Mrs. Patience Matthew. Scatter everything. So for this moment, I won't call you Mrs. I'll call you Miss. Let me call her Miss Patience Matthew. If after this session, I asked you, you know that thing that you came to the stage and we spoke, I really like the way the confidence with which you come out. Give me your phone number and we exchange phone numbers. And then after the session, I called you this evening. Babe, Patience, how are you? What will be your reaction first? Talk. Don't speak because you're on stage. Speak naturally. If I just called you after, babe, how was your session? What will you think in your mind first? You're thinking. No, what will you? You don't have to. Why is he calling me? Exactly. So the first reaction will be, why is he calling me? Okay, maybe he's being nice. I said, how was the session? She will say, fine, right? Nice. Good. And then we drop. The next day, tomorrow morning, I called you. Page, how buddy? How are you? What would you think? Why are you calling me this early in the morning? And then the third day, I call you again. Patience, I do there. That session, have you started using some of the things we talked? Are you applying it? What will you think?
I think you just want to.
What does he know? How can I utilize it more? For the babes in the house, is that true? No. Fake. What will she be thinking? Exactly. Oh boy, why are you behaving like this? What are you playing? Push it this way, let me. Why? But do you agree that even with her playing so hard to get, if I continue to call her consistently every day for 1 month, at the end of 1 month, she will not be talking seminar anymore? Even with a very difficult patience. Do you realize that, do you agree that after a month of calling you, I will know things about you that I don't know now? Yes. And you will know things about me that you don't know now? Yes. Okay. What about if I keep calling you that way every single day for 6 months? At the end of 6 months, what would happen? Though, thank man now. What did my friends already? Friends already do. Atre mo, atongo mo. Patience is too shy. She's pretty brave, but she's a very shy, reserved woman. But I also know this thing is being recorded. Her husband is. And your boss is here. Say, mbobok. Okay. Now you and I understand this up. That's all I wanted to hear. Has she been a good sport? No, I think she's been. Let's give her a round of applause. Thank you. Who got the message? How many people got the message? Listen carefully. It is not possible for you to go through a lifelong career without having a blip. It is not possible for you to go through a lifelong career without suffering a blip. It would always happen. You would suffer a blip. Now, remember I told you that because of the longevity, you're not going to do one career, you're going to be doing multiple careers. That means you're going to suffer multiple blips. If you do not want to crash and be destroyed, you've got to stay connected to your source. No matter how powerful you are, no matter how connected you are, no matter how rich you are, no matter how pretty you are, no matter how beautiful you are not the carcass you wear. There's an inner thing that makes this chemistry, because all of this is chemistry. There's an inner thing that makes this chemistry function. If you're not connected to your source, you would crash at the very first blip that hits you. But if you are connected to your source, He is the source of all wisdom. That is why it says very clearly that I will give you witty inventions. When you say I will give you witty inventions, you know what that means? It means I will give you the solution to complex problems. I just finished illustrating to you that that is the new economy. It is those who solve problems. Those are the guys playing in the next space. When he says I will give you I have a family, thank you. I ate, thank you. I could walk, thank you. I came home safely, thank you. The constant interaction and speaking, if you do that long enough, after a while you will know things about him that you don't know now. He would unveil and expose things about himself to you that you don't know now. That is where witty invention comes from. That is why you notice that sometimes you'll be in a bathroom taking a shower with soap all over you and it drops on your mind and you step out and you wet your wife's floor. Witty inventions. That's where it happens. Do you think it was an accident? No, it wasn't. If you stay connected to the source long enough, he would expose himself to you. And he chooses who he wishes to bless. But he can't bless you if you are far. Funny thing is that I have found from reading a lot that It is those who have actually achieved uncommon goals. When you read into that autobiography, even those who claim they don't believe in God, they are the ones that you find that it is when they are extremely knocked down on their knees that they remember that there's a source that they have to connect to. You see, when the trouble comes, as it will come, remember what I told you, that trouble will come is not a debate. And it has nothing to do with witchcraft. It will come. When the trouble comes, it will be like after you have been staying in touch regularly, call in, call out, thank you, I just want to say the plane flew, I want to thank you. All those by conversations with patients. And you're like, what is this guy calling? What does he want? What does he want? Until one day, when the trouble of life comes, you will kneel down and you want to pray and the words won't come. You would kneel down, you can't speak in tongues, you can't pray, you can't say jack. You just kneel down and nothing comes. That is the moment when the Spirit groans on your behalf. And that's when the response, the reverse call, patients call him, that's when the reverse call happens. But unlike patients, the reverse call won't say, "Dahado dear." He won't. You know what he'll be saying? He'll be telling you, "What are you doing there morning? The cattle on 1,000 hills belongs to me. If I wanted food, is it you that I'll ask? Get up and go and X, Y, Z, Z, Z." And then the same you that was mourning and crying in the night, you wake up and you come in the morning looking all fresh, and they say, they are looking at you, looking gay and all that, and they are confused. And then the very thing that they are set up for your destruction, the thing that you cried about all night, becomes the exact tool that was needed to promote you. You know what those troubles were? Those were the challenges. Those were the obstacles. Those were the problems that you are owning to use as your stepping stone. But if you have not been calling patients to talk about how it was the seminar, you are not calling to say that, did you enjoy the course? You are not calling to say that it rained yesterday. You are not calling to say that I flew by the plane. In 6 months plus day 2, when trouble comes and you can't call, will she return any call? She won't even notice that you exist. I've codified it, but I hope you got the message. Next slide. So, in ending, I ask you, take everything that you've gotten today and take a lot of what you're going to do, and I want you to start living 2019 deliberately. Don't live tomorrow as if it's going to be another version of today. Live your 2019, your 2020 deliberately. Own something, act something, solve something, be a part of something. Don't just be a person who just goes through life. You wake up in the morning and you wander through life. No, you can't do that. You can't do that.
Target market, and then decides to change their market. But they've already created a perception that the brand was made for low-income earners. For instance, Techno. No matter how Techno has tried to modernize their smartphones with higher features, even better than some features in Samsung, it still sells lower. A lot of people still won't carry Techno. How can Techno, let me say, I'm just using Techno, transit from being a brand for low-end consumers to high-end consumers? Is it possible?
Okay, let me quickly answer that before I forget, since I don't have a piece of paper. Now, who knows Panasonic TV? It used to be National. Who knows Gold Star? LG. It used to be Gold Star. And so the most difficult thing in the life of a brand is reinventing that brand. And so that's why you see bigger brands do that brand change, which is called rebranding. And so when you are in that quagmire, chances are that you may begin to look in that direction. If you look at First Bank, used to be First Bank of Nigeria PLC. And they said, okay, look, just call it First Bank. GT Bank today used to be Guaranteed Trust Bank. And because you need to change that perception, that's why people go undergo name change, undergo logo change. In fact, in branding, it is recommended that every 10 years you must reinvent your brand. Every 10 years, you must reinvent your brand. The half elephant of First Bank you're seeing today was planned 10 years before it was done. It was in the books. I knew exactly, even though I wasn't in First Bank anymore, I knew exactly when it was going to be done. That's the life of a brand. Any other question? Okay. Microphone, please. Oh, okay. Please come forward. Please come forward. Just step forward if you want to have a question so we can quickly round up for those that are traveling out.
I'd love to just throw some light to what he said. Now, I believe that the Toyota brand has two, should I call it, fragments. Now, I believe if you want to undergo that kind of change, you could also create a luxury brand from the brand you already have. Like, for instance, now, Toyota has a brand that is for everybody, but they have a Lexus, which is also the high-end brand. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other? Please come.
Thank you for the opportunity. I am Omo Ekanem. Sorry, I'm not a professor yet. The first question goes to you, sir. You said knowledge is codified in text. Could this be attached to you? This is the words. Yes. The second one is, do you have a book? Yes, written one. All right. The third one is, yeah, you guys have talked about football so much. And looking at football and looking at where you guys went to this career, I'm talking, this goes to the two of you now. At which point did you decide not to play football any longer? That you wanted to do something different?
Okay, do you want us to answer jointly? Okay, let me allow him answer first.
I have never decided not to go into football. I still play football. I just don't make it my source of livelihood. Okay, but I still play football. Even now, I'm sure I can still beat you 100 meters flat.
Well, since I said we will answer jointly, confession now. When I was in the university, my passion was to play football. The only reason I went to school and I wanted to do well was to convince my father to allow me to go and play football. Because my immediate senior brother was a footballer and was very popular. And so around me, I had very popular footballers. But God had other designs. And so off I went to Lagos, excited that I was going to play football. We played for a Lagos State NYSC team. We were called to national camp a few days, even though we didn't go. And then something had an injury. And then having the injury, suddenly there was a paid check in front of me that offered me 10 times what the football was going to offer me, to wear coat and tie. And so it was a choice I had to make. Take a risk. My leg could get broken the next day, or go sit in an air-conditioned office and earn what is, in the banking industry, you call it armed robber salary. So that was how it happened. It wasn't by design. Any other?
Good evening, sir. Thank you for this opportunity. Sir, please, the question I want to ask is respect to business and ideas itself. Okay, let's say, for example, I have a business idea that I've already groomed, and I know that on my own I can't carry it out. And then maybe I want to reach out to an investor or a sponsor that can handle the ideas too. So first thing is this: how do I secure the business idea I have so like the person doesn't overtake it? Then secondly, sir, how do I like bring in the profit? Like how do I make sure that my own profit is secured too?
Okay, I think I wouldn't want us to jump the gun because we are going to have, just watch out for this space, we are going to have a series And so at one point or the other, we're going to talk about small and medium-scale enterprises. We're going to talk about business skills. Maybe let me give you an expo up front. Next month, we're going to have the MD Consumer SBU PZ, Alex Goma. He will be with us. He will be talking about leadership. So he's already confirmed. I won't give you the date yet. I won't give you the venue.
Two quick things. The first one, the obvious one, is patents. But patents, we know notoriously don't work in Nigeria. Okay? But whether they work or not, follow the letter of the law, patent your idea. Secondly, what you typically would find is that people can even steal your idea, okay, but they don't have your passion. So they can even copy it, but they can't deliver it as much as you can. So how do you approach an investor? They are what they call venture capitalists. In Lagos, they call them angel investors now. They are institutions. They are not individuals. The moment you expose yourself to individuals, you run the risk. When you expose yourself to investors, a group of investors, it's a documented transaction that you are bringing a set of ideas. They may not like it, or they may like it. So I would say be very careful about just going to some random person who claims they are a money bag and trying to sell your idea, because then it can be stolen. But if you patent it and you approach institutions and the idea is good, they will do two things for you. Not only will they bring money, they will bring expertise to it. And then they will let the idea grow for you. Okay? And then if it's a specialized idea like an industry that's special, like the movie industry, the music industry, go to those who have done it before and let them guide you. Okay? Again, go and read that book, The Richest Man in Babylon. There's a specific chapter there that talks about exactly what you've asked. Okay? Sir.
Good evening, sirs. Good evening, everybody. Well, Commissioner, I want to thank you for this opportunity. Mine is not a question, actually. It's I want to share an experience so that let me have maybe an idea on what I would have done. There was a time I attended a seminar in Lagos, and we were talked to, and they opened us up to very new chapters. So when I came back, because I do most things in the agricultural sector, so when I came back, I had, why I'm saying this is what you said about Bimbo, Ovie, and the network. I had this idea that, okay, a lot of our people in the rural areas have this farm produce, and there are a lot of people in the urban areas, even people who do commercial sales, they have this inability or these difficulties in trying to reach out to these people. So there was a challenge created there. So mine was that, okay, how do I put together these guys who have the produce, and how do I gather those who need them? So although the app issue didn't come up to me, mine was trying to make it a bit mechanical, trying to pick them out, but it was very expensive. So in that case, I'm trying to see, because what I learned here today is that you can actually use this technology to fast track those things. Now, but my question is, a lot of people here with very bright ideas. Now, we really need, which I will plead our commissioner to step it up again to that mentorship and grooming, so that if somebody brings in a raw idea, there's how you can just pad it and add something until he realizes what his dream is. Because like what I've learned today here, mine was to come up with something that will solve the challenge of taking things from the village, the rural areas, to those people in the urban areas. And I just sat down here with what he said about the pharmaceutical and the OVS issue. I said, okay, I can come up with something like Smart Agro, which will solve that problem. So I'm just trying to think according to the line of others, because I know a lot of people here have ideas, but how to bring it to reality is a big challenge. That's my contribution. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, the Honorable Commissioner. My name is Supreme Okbon. Being here today is a blessing, and this is a very welcome development in Akwa Ibom State. And I believe that this will also add value to the life of the young people who are also like screaming and looking for opportunity. My own question goes this way. How do we sustain mentoring in Akwa Ibom State? Because if you check if you go down the line of history, The first man in the military was an Akwa Ibomite. The first professor in Nigeria was an Akwa Ibomite. But today, if we check the downline, we are far, far behind. How do we really sustain mentoring, not just as a workshop, but as a lifestyle, whereby you have people up high there, and then you have a lined up of young people who are likely following the line so that they will take over from them. Thank you.
Let me speak. I guess that question is directed to government. The government has a major role to play, and that's why you see that in the completion agenda of government, we talk about human capacity development. And that's why you also see that there's emphasis on Ministry of Labor and Manpower Planning. We haven't lost the fact that we have a dying breed of professionals out there, especially in the national arena. And so government is conscious of that, and that's why government has brought human capacity development to front burner. Okay. So we have 3 more questions, right? Okay, 4 more.
Good evening, sir. My name is Diana Joseph Nkanta, and I happen to be, first of all, a music artist, gospel music, and a fashion designer, and also do makeup. So before I got into school, it was difficult. So I told myself, why do I waste the time? Let me acquire skill. Because fashion had already been my family thing. So I got into fashion before then, and I got admission. Then while in school, my female lecturers happened to like me. So they had to connect me into a makeup work, which I could not. And she was like, I'm so disappointed. Why didn't you get this money and help yourself? So coming back, I had to go learn professional makeup doing. So now, my question is, how do I collect these 3 and make it as a brand? How do I make a brand out of it? And I'm not doing this because of money. It's passion and love. I just love doing it. So my question is, how do I package these 3 into a sustainable branding, not just something that will come and just flow?
These 3 questions, those 2 mentoring questions, I will speak to this later. But yes, it will answer.
Good evening, all. I'm Imeba Okun. My question is about the gig economy. The Honorable Commissioner earlier said that 15 years fast forward, a lot of us will not survive. Now, okay, now the question is, sir, you made mention of 2 individuals who have come up with an app to solve a problem. Outside Akwa Ibom, we see, especially Lagos, you see they have a lot of hubs that clusters of different ideas come together to solve. So if you are in a hub, you don't have a computer, and you get there to the hub, you see computer and especially internet facility. So I see that particular aspect lacking down here. So how can that be bridged so that a lot of young persons can try to build on what we have?
Good evening, sirs. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ekaiti Okun from Niger Delta Post newspaper. I actually have a problem with brand identity, brand voice, and a tagline. I have been trying to fix up a PR company, and my target was actually the Niger Delta region. And sir, now that I want to change the identity, the brand voice, I want to just rebrand and repackage it. Will I have to change the tagline? And if I will have to change the tagline, how do I direct this to my target audience? Thank you very much.
I think you should take the brand question and the question together.
Okay. Now, first and foremost, when creating a brand, you must first identify what value add. What do you want to do? Who are you targeting? Who is your primary audience? Once you do that, now then the reality also is that creating the brand, you must first be able to put down what concept you have in your head before anybody can help you to the next level. And then when you create a brand, don't forget that a brand is a bundle of perceptions. Now, if you have formed perceptions, that's why I talked about brands that have metamorphosed into something else, brands that have changed name. Now, if you have a brand that has serviced one segment of the economy, and you want to mix another segment of the economy. Don't also forget that in terms of demographic and in terms of target market segmentation, they could be a clash. And that's why you could see that you could have a sub-brand. You could have a subshoot of that brand that could help you drive that business. That's why, like that gentleman added, today Honda wanted to move a step further. They brought Acura. Toyota wanted to get into the luxury range. They brought Lexus. Now, different brands like that are moving in that direction. So if you want to move in that direction, you need to first look at what value are you trying to create? What problem, like he said, are you trying to solve? Who is your target market? Where do they live, work, or play? What are their characteristics? Those will be the defining variables that will determine which direction you go. And then she talked about same thing you have to do. You need to begin to look at, are there strange bedfellows? Can they sleep on the same bed if they are different areas of business? If they are not, then of course you have to break them apart. If they are, then you can have a fusion there. So that's what you need to first look at. Now, each of these brands you're trying to create, who has need for it? Where are the gaps? What gaps are you trying to plug? Where are the obstacles? Where are the banana peels? Those are the variables, again, that will help you build that brand.
Let me add to that. In a week's time, I'm teaching at another forum about the employee experience. A lot of it is very related to what they call the customer experience now. Sometimes it's about creating the customer experience that differentiates you from all the others, from the field. That is actually where the message is. Let me take your example. You are in the music space, you're also in the fashion space, and you're also in the makeup space. Imagine if you created a customer experience that says, in the entertainment industry, we are a one-stop shop that produces an experience that not only addresses your look, but addresses your senses and addresses the music line. So when any artist wants to break into the music space, you are the logical place to go to for costume, for looks, for messaging, and for music, whether you're providing the lyrics or you're providing the beats. Therefore, you don't have, as a young artist, to worry about where will I get money for costume, where will I get money for makeup, how will I pay producer, I am a one-stop shop that caters for all this. I don't think there's anybody in Nigeria that speaks that language yet. These are all different brands, remember? Well, you become the singular person that produces all of this, and then you become an aggregator. You do not need to be an expert in makeup. You don't need to be an expert in costume making. You don't actually need to even know how to write a music line. But you've created that brand, therefore everybody who is an expert in all of those fields can tag under you to bring their services to bear to this larger market, which you can reach and they can't reach. You become an aggregator. So that could be another way you can position your brand to say, we will be the aggregator of all of these services and we'll bring the best of breed to bear. And we become the one-stop shop for you. So if you want to break into the music industry, talk to us. Do you think that can sell? But you have to think about it. I am not even in your space, but I'm able to craft something. The key is not what I told you. The key is in your ability to think through what is the value proposition you're bringing to the table. My biggest problem, and I think I don't want to be politically correct, so I'm going to be very blunt with you. Many of the reasons why you actually don't bring value to the table is because you're fixated about the amount of money you want to make. That's the truth of the matter. You start the value proposition from how much can I make? And the moment you start from that value proposition, you lock out all the ideas. It is the wrong way to go about it. Start from the proposition of what is my purpose and what is the value I can bring. Money would always follow. When you go from the angle of purpose and value, ideas begin to fall all over the place. In fact, your biggest issue would be someone helping you to say that focus, now me. because there are 500 ideas will be flowing at you. That is the biggest stumbling block you have. And that's what we need to get over. Now, so that I can hand over to this guy, let's talk about the mentoring one. You're looking for how can we sustain mentoring in this place, and you're turning to government. That is part of the problem. Who is government, to be precise? Why are you asking me the question, Seth? That's part of what I mean. Why are you asking me the question? Who is a mentor? Why are you looking for a mentor? The fact that you can be in this room, the fact that you can carry a mobile phone, you are in the top 5% of this country's population. How many people have you mentored? Right there is the problem. Because around you, there are young children who are getting into crime. They are insulting their parents. They are getting into drugs. You're looking for a mentor. Why don't you start from the community around you? You see, if all of us could only clean the front of our house, the whole community will be clean. These people that I call my mentees, they are not my relatives. My children are not even in university yet. The amount of money it takes to send them to school, like my brother said here, is less than the money we spend in one heavy weekend of clubbing. Just pick a problem there, solve it, mentor the people around you. And if all of us could do that, forget about what the big men are doing or the middle men are doing, forget about all that. Do your bit. Set the example. These children, by the time they graduate from school, I don't need to teach them mentoring. They have benefited from it. I am confident already in my heart that these guys are going to produce the next set of leaders. I may not be around when they do it. Stop pointing at people. Stop looking at people. Do something. How do we produce the next set of leaders? Why do we produce the next set of mentors? You are one that we have produced. What have you done? Therein lies the solution. Every single one of you sitting in this room, you are mentors. Start mentoring tomorrow. Of course, I'm very happy to hear the Honorable Commissioner say they are going to put structures in place in government. But government is not the solution to our problem. Government can never solve all of our problems. We, as the people, need to step up. When government provides the leadership and provides the direction, we have to follow. We have to do it. Daring is the solution. Government won't do everything. And sir, the question you asked about, I can't give you the answer about saying, should you use apps, shouldn't you use apps? The solution still lies in collaboration. When you have those kinds of ideas, speak to people who have the same burden. You may have been surprised that if you have been speaking about this and you have made that your vision and it was always what you spoke about, somebody may have hinted you and say, have you ever thought of linking these people with apps? Remember what I said. I'm not speaking to you particularly, I'm speaking to everybody. If your fixation is about Akrifa and Kembo make, because you are thinking of arbitrage, let me link a buyer to a seller and take my cut and go. If that is your thinking, your ideas will be limited. But if it is about solutioning, in fact, you'll be spoiled for ideas. I think that has addressed that. We take the two gentlemen and then we wrap up. And guys, please, you're standing between me and drinks. Drinks are on him. And you guys are slowing us down.
Good evening, sirs. Thank you very much. Someone has already asked my first question, but the second one. Please, sir, I know, I want to talk about our environment and our location. I know, maybe if you were in Udoh, you wouldn't have had the opportunity you had after school to pick up that job you picked. Same with our Honorable Commissioner. Now, a lot of young guys who were doing well, maybe photography and other things in Akwa Ibom, most of them have moved to either Lagos or Abuja. I am an architect. The way the work I do here, the pay I get, if I do the same work in Lagos and Abuja, I will get better pay. Okay, now, I know social media and all that must have provided a common ground for these things to fly wherever we are. But in Akwa Ibom that we are, or in our location, how can we make our location very well, very fertile for whatever kind of thing we do or we set out to do?
Maybe there's a reason we stood together. We have something in common to share. So my name is Hanson Johnson, and in one of your slides you talked about the 21st century workplace, and you talked about the 6 disruptive forces and 10 essential skills. Highly computational world, connected, social media, social ecology, and the rise of smart machines. That 16-year-old child in Lagos that was able to connect or help their father scale his business, if that person was from somewhere in Ikono without access to the internet, my question straight to the point now is, how do we play and tap into this space when we lack the basic infrastructures? Infrastructure. Basic.
I like the question. And the question speaks to the essence of my presentation. You see the limitation. You do not see the opportunity. You see, it is easy for you to say the 16-year-old in Ilaje was because she was in Lagos. She was in Ilaje. There's no infrastructure in Ilaje. There's no light. There's what? Sir, in Ilaje, you don't have internet access. You're talking about 4G. It has nothing to do with the challenge. What it has to do is the mindset. And I'm going to speak to what is said and also the incubation hubs. The challenges you face and the challenges this lady faced in Ilaje are all real challenges. I don't dispute that. The opportunities that lie therein are also real opportunities. Let's not dispute that. What sits in there is, are you able to recognize the opportunities and read around the solution? When Steve Jobs started designing Apple, he could never believe that he could be putting together a solution that can lock in the entire American market. That wasn't his intent. But he had a vision. When you come up with a solution that requires 4G, and the idea is tested and proven, it will stun you that there are people who would bring you from Ikono to come and display that idea in Lagos. And they will pay your return ticket. Where you come from, where you grew up in, is irrelevant to the quality of the idea. It doesn't have to be incubated in your location. It could be incubated anywhere. Now, I do understand that having the smart ops does confer advantage for the Lagosians. I accept that completely. And that is where we begin to speak to entrepreneurs who actually can see that as an opportunity in itself, because creating a hub in itself is a business. And if somebody could say that there's a young man here who is in Ikono who has this wonderful idea, but he has to come to Lagos to incubate it. You are another one that has an app that is linking Gary makers here to do, but he has to come to Ijebu-Ode to incubate it. You are another one that has an idea about medical. You have to come to Lagos to incubate it. And he says, hold on a minute. How about I create a hub in Uyo? All of a sudden, everybody is struggling to jump into it. Even government wants to jump into it. But you can't want to wait until a hub is created before you start thinking of ideas to solve a problem. And the reason why I can't think of it is because there's no hub. That's not how it works. My boss did not start building cement factories because people started demanding for cement. He built cement factories ahead of people realizing that there was a demand. You don't want to wait until the hubs are built before you start coming up with creativity. Come up with the creativity. Get people to see the opportunities. Get people to be incentivized or interested. And suddenly it will amaze you how the environment will transform. It is very easy to say the reason I'm not doing it is because Mbarake Lagos. if you come up with an interesting architectural design here in Akwa Ibom, and you post it on social, in fact, what are we talking about? Do you remember a company called Andela? How many people remember Andela? Andela is a Nigerian company, you know that? Well, that's the Nigerian outlet now. Do you realize that didn't Zuckerberg come to Nigeria to visit Andela? Why didn't Andela wait until the environment was right, politically and everything, before they came up? But when they came up and people could see, someone could see that there was a potential here, he quickly came with no police escort, in a t-shirt and jeans, and said, that company they call Andela, and if you buy more, he went to Yaba. He went to visit. Zuckerberg came to Nigeria, went to Yaba. Your president didn't know. Nobody knew. No police protection. He had a bag over his shoulder. One of the richest men in America. He went to Yaba. Why? He wanted to go and see, these people they call Andela, are they for real? Do you know how much money is invested in them? They didn't wait until it was perfect. Or else you just be making perfect excuses. And you are resolving dissonance in the direction of current vision. All right. Have we addressed all of the questions? It may not have been perfect answers. No more questions. Case closed. But for one, I'm going to give one question only. Not you, sir. I'm going to give the question to the lady at the back. Because next time, I'll do the one now. So that lady is the last question, and then we wrap it up.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Victoria Idang. Actually, it's not a question. It's what those two guys said lastly about the hubs in Uyo. I finished serving March from Ilorin and I went to Asaba, but my mom said I should come back to you. And I didn't actually want to come back because I felt there were no opportunities. But when I came back last month, I was just searching around what is there. I read petroleum engineering. And I was like, I'm looking for a tech stuff, the new skill and everything. And someone directed me to the Root Hub. So there's actually a hub in Uyo. Those guys are actually learning us to do some stuff. Yeah. No, the thing is, I had a 2 weeks training there on graphics and web dev. And I'm currently training there on UI and UX design. The same thing he's saying, let's have a positive mindset. You've not been there. I've been there and I'm learning something. Do you understand? That's the thing. So I just want to bring it up that, there are things that are coming up in Uyo. If only we have a positive mindset to key into it and learn. I studied petroleum engineering. I've been applying since March. I've not seen any this thing. But with this design, I'm also doing product photography. So I'm trying to merge design with it to move on. So I want to encourage us to have a positive mindset. And come September, there is a conference, start conference. Is creativity, business, and technology, still powered by the Root Hub. We had a meet and greet, and people came to share ideas. So I just want us to move to where these opportunities are and begin to be positive. When I asked my friends, have you been to the Hub? They said, sorry, please, I'm taking your time. When I came back, I was shocked. About 15 people. Have you heard of Tech 101? They said, what is that? And I'm like, and you guys are in Uyo. The opportunity is there. People were like, it's scam. I went for 2 weeks. I can use Corel Drone now. I can do some stuff. So let's go out. Thank you.
I think that wraps it up nicely.
Well, once again, I want to thank our guest speaker. It's really very emotional. Like I said, next month we are going to have Alex Goma. Alex Goma is Managing Director, Consumer SUB PZ. He will be talking to us on leadership. One of the things I also thought was that silver and gold I have none, but I have pieces of paper to show that you spent your time. This is my own form of landing. So. And so here, everybody who registered would have a certificate of participation to show. Time would not allow us to distribute all of it now. So we're going to just distribute a few, but every other person who registered will just go to the registration point and pick a few. Because this event was streamed live on the internet. So here, the whole world is watching us and listening to us. So, like I also said, the materials will be dropped on the WhatsApp group for everybody who registered. Of course, we hope to expand that group. We hope to have a larger number. Maybe we'll have to use a bigger hall. Indeed, my initial thought was to use e-library. And then my team said, oh no, are we sure it will be too big for us? But now looking back now, I think that will be where to go to. But let me also thank all of you. Let me thank the team. It was my idea. I had this guilty conscience every time I looked at my computer, and I looked at the army of friends I had around me with something to offer. And so today I'm glad that this has come at the right time. If I had done this before elections, I'm not sure my friends would come because I've been political. But this is not political. This is about helping government to build human capacity in Akwa Ibom State. And so from Enye Kaneka, who led the team, to David, to the graphics man, Edidiong, to Akwane Kanem, the Okon, everyone, to the guys who did the live streaming. I must give it to them. They volunteered their services. They are not charging any money for it. The guys, they did it for me for all of it. That is their own contribution. He came all the way. He bought his own ticket. He paid his own accommodation, took care of himself, just to make this happen. So I will leave the honor. He will be the one to present the certificate of participation to just a few people, just for the camera. Every other person that registered, if you didn't register, you are here and you want this certificate, please drop your name. We'll find a way to get it to you. So let me give Musen the honor to call out the recipients to take this certificate of participation.
Like we said, this is just a sample set. All of you are very important. Let's start with Queen Praise Uzoma. Queen Praise Uzoma, please.
Okay.
Congratulations, and hope you find the session useful and you put it to use.
Annie Jacobs. Annie Jacobs.
So this was randomly selected.
Yes. Now, the names we are calling out were just randomly selected, not any special order, just for the picture effect. Annie Jacobs in the middle. That's for you. Thank you. Isaac Mefo. Isaac Mefo. Evelyn Aniedi Ibanga. Evelyn Aniedi Ibanga. Well done. Congratulations. Kufre Ekpo. Kufre Ekpo. Ekemini Basi. Ekemini Basi. He seems to be very popular. Mary Johnson. Mary Johnson. Is Mary here? Okay. Thank you. Welcome. Congratulations. Nsisong James. Nsisong James. Kuvi Nsere. Kuvi Nsere. Hanson Johnson. Well, on that note, I want to once again, first I want to give glory to God for this day. It was a dream. I thought it was a wild dream. It was a dream I had many years ago, but God incubated in my computer for giving me the permission to do this. And then I also must thank my friends. When you have friends, you've come a long way. It's not every day you find friends that you've been under the rain, you've been under the sun together. You've seen the world. Our governor, this government constituency says, look, we don't want to give people fish. We want to teach you how to fish because that's more sustainable. So on that note, the MC, we have started with prayers. Maybe we'll pray after giving certificate. Or let's pray so that those that want to go can go. Thank you so much, everyone. God bless you all. And then we need to do group picture. Yeah, please. Let's do that before we give certificate.
Okay. It's dark outside already.
Some people will stand down. Let's start with two. Some people will stand down, some people will stand down.